Hello and welcome. Here's a poem. Here's a poem. Uh, a poem by Jason B. Crawford from June, this month's issue of Poetry Magazine. Jason B. Crawford is a queer poet in the interest of us reading queer poetry for Pride Month. This poem is titled Untitled Love Poem 4. ... After Essex Hemphill. We dance like beasts near the edge of light. I kiss the throne of you in gratitude, what love we might find in this small window we call home. My hands padlocked to yours. We are a concerning type of forever. Whether I am bound to you or your ghost, I shall not depart. I apologize. I have started from happiness again. But how could I not when I only know of you? This morning, when I wake to burnt toast and smoke lingers like perfume, and I grace the kitchen in yesterday's briefs, and I grab your hand and twirl you to the song of bacon as it cooks on our decaying stove, I will tilt my head toward yours and kiss your cheek, and promise tomorrow I will restock our pantry. Untitled Love Poem 4... by Jason B. Crawford. Hello. Welcome. What a lovely way to start anything with a poem. And hello, Kutara, Penguino, Lavendism, Nikki, Ace, many friends today, which is always lovely to see all of you. Lovely music as always. Thank you, Katara. I haven't written anything more in the last few days, but that's because I've been practicing a lot of piano and playing a lot of saxophone. I've been improvising a lot, so less written music. But I'm making a lot of progress on the piano piece that I'm learning, which is Avril 14th by Aphex Twin, and it is kind of the first piece of piano music I'm really learning, and it's very fun. I feel like my camera is, like, not happy. It looks kind of blurry or something. Maybe it's just me and it's an illusion, but if it looks different from normal, does that help? I wiped it off with a thing. That looks way better. That looks way better. Stream off ? Stream looks good to me. I would hope that stream isn't crashing in the first few minutes, but I don't think it is. I think we're fine. I found out today that I passed a module that I was worried I wouldn't pass. I got literally the exact pass mark, which means I will be graduating next month. That is super exciting. And I remember, you sort of like were taking a break from college, and there was sort of a question of whether you were going back, and you were very burnt out. So I'm very happy to hear that that you've made it, right? That you will graduate, because that is such a wonderful accomplishment, and great that doesn't have to be delayed at all. Just your bad internet, Kutara. No worries. Looks like it has constant condensation on it. I think it's better. I think after I wiped it with the cloth, the camera does look much better than it did. But that might make sense. I had my computer downstairs while I was washing dishes a moment ago, and maybe some water got on the camera or something. Yeah. Well, welcome. An announcement or something I will point you all toward, because many of you are poets, is that currently, and I've been working on this, Poetry Magazine, the one that I read the poem from just a moment ago, their submission window is closing soon, in 2 weeks, actually on June 12th, I think, so less than 2 weeks. Maybe it's June 15th. But and their submissions are always free, and they are like the biggest, most well-known place to send your poetry to get it published, and you end up on their website. So I would encourage any of you who are of the poetic type to prepare a submission, because it's good practice. And maybe they accept you, maybe they pay you $500 per poem that they accept. So I've been working on my submission. I was doing that yesterday, and there very well might be a stream coming up soon that is me going over some editing of my own submission of my poems, of my manuscript, I suppose, of 6 poems that I think I'm submitting 5, even though the maximum is 6. But yeah, I would encourage y'all to check that out. And if any of you all are curious about submitting your poems or your writing to places and have never done so, it's something I've done a lot with very little success, because it's very hard to succeed. But you can definitely ask me any questions about it if you need, guidance or help, because it's quite an intimidating thing to do, to send the poetry off to be judged and returned with merely a yes or a no. Yeah. But I sent off another submission a few days ago as well. I think I'm probably kind of getting back into that now, submitting poetry to places. I've definitely, as I said, I've been quite unsuccessful with it. I think in terms of all of the workshops, there was a summer workshop that I submitted to, and then in terms of all the other places I've sent my poetry, I think I am at a net negative $130 on my attempts. I have made $0. All I have done is lose money sending my poetry off to places. So when there are free ones like Poetry Magazine, and they're increasingly not free to submit places, when there are free ones, it is very nice and definitely something to do. I've been thinking of submitting poetry to publications, but most of them don't accept previously published work. Yeah, usually they almost will never accept previously published work, and particularly lately I've been seeing more and more of an addendum. This includes posts on your social media. And as you all know, maybe if you follow my Instagram, I've been posting more and more of my own poetry. So I've had to sort of make the conscious decision of how I divide the poems that I post from the poems that I might submit to journals. And luckily, I have a pretty good divide. Is I will only post poems on my Instagram that are short, because I want them to fit in a single screenshot. And if they don't fit, then they don't get posted, and that's a poem that I can submit to a journal, right, or a magazine. And I write enough poetry that I have a bunch of small things, and then the longer, more involved poems are the ones that I can send off to the Poetry Magazine type places. I've entered 3, including this community's anthology, and got published in those 3. That's a very good track record. I can show you all my my submissions organizing over here on Obsidian. So over here in the left side is my folders, and here are my completed submissions. I have a folder for accepted. I've been accepted into 1 zine. I submitted these poems, and they accepted Genesis. And then my denied is Agni, Arcana, Barrelhouse Brink, Colorado Review, Frontier Haiku Competition, their Love and Arrows Prize, Luna Magazine, Phil Lit Prize, Phil Lit Quarterly, Rhizomag denied me. I almost got in. Show denied me the first time. I'm submitting again to Show. That's just random. I don't know why that's in there. Sundog Lit denied me. The Common denied me. The Witness Prize denied me. And I have a pending submission with the Idaho Review and Show Poetry's Winter 2026. And then I'm working on Poetry Magazine, trying to figure out. Actually, I decided on these 5 poems. And then there's this place called McNeese, which I think I'm submitting these 3. Although I might be doing Ironic Bodies. I'm not sure. So yeah, generally a failure in that regard, but that's okay. So impressive that you've gotten into 3 things. Lavendism. I submitted to a local publisher and they rejected it. After a bit of digging on Google Workspace, I found that they never opened the Google Doc I submitted. Yeah, I mean that definitely happens. Sometimes they find something they want, they accept it, and they just stop looking, and that happens, Sometimes it just isn't what they want or what they're looking for at the time. So, I think we can't take those things personally, and that's why I can laugh that I've been rejected from 15 magazines and only been accepted in an independent zine and my own zine. How did our anthology work out? Did it sell out? No, it did not sell out, but I broke even. And now I have copies, so like when I taught my poetry workshop in person, I think I sold like 4 copies to people. So I still have them. The Poets of Twitch, I have one right here. If anyone, for those who are newer, we did an anthology, a zine, and there are people from chat in here, which is cool. Maybe, I don't know, maybe y'all would recognize some of these usernames. Dew on the Grass is still in chat sometimes. Stylish Veil was here the other day. Penguino Man, Kompong Long Kong, what a great poem. Myself, When 2/3 Lotus used to be with a number 2 instead of a TWO. We might do that again, or something like that. Blood of Lotus, the other Lotus, was suggesting I do something like that, and I haven't followed up with them because it's hard, and that takes time, and I do a lot of things. But yeah. Oh yeah, and Maytari is in there, which is Lavendism. And then... oh, hi Inky. We were just talking about the Poets of Twitch. Inky is in that zine as well. One of the illustrious poets selected. So no, I did not sell out of it, Pinguino, but I broke even. I did not lose money, and I got to pay all of you for poetry, which is pretty cool. You're still waiting on a response, Lavendism, from a magazine. Yeah, that's it. It's the waiting game, right? You send stuff, you wait, you wait, you wait. Sometimes they totally just ghost you. I think Idaho Review has ghosted me. Like, I submitted 6 months ago, and there's just been no response. But sometimes reading times are very long. I know this one book got rejected so many times. I forgot the name. Googled and Catch-22 got rejected 22 times. How poetic. A lot of the great books and poems and all of these things, like, they get rejected. You know, it's part of the process. Like, there are so many artists, there's so many people submitting, trying to share their work and get published, that, like, getting rejected is not a sign that your art is bad. It's a sign, basically, to keep trying and do it somewhere else and edit and keep improving and, you know, keep writing and whatever, right? It's not really a sign of anything, I guess. Just that that person didn't like it, you know? Breaking even is a pretty good thing either way. Yes. So much art is total money pit. So it's a good thing to hear. Yeah. I think over 2 years, you know, streaming has made me money. Although I will say, I think on average, I've probably earned like 50 cents an hour across all of the hours I've streamed. Not a great way to make money, but I haven't lost money, which is pretty cool. I think even if you count buying headphones, and the microphone was a gift, but buying a camera and stuff, that's okay. Not that Not that I'm like really streaming to make money, because that's delusional. um, and and I think this channel almost functions better by being small. I don't know how I would do if there were like 30 people in chat all typing. I'd get quite overwhelmed, I think. Um, yeah, but 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 uh but we're here to read poetry is maybe the but. So let's read poetry. I think many of you have things submitted. I know Kutara has a chapter. I know that Ray has things. Today could be like a Ray Kutara day. I think Penguin, we read yours. Um, I'm not sure if Ray Vega you've submitted writing to me. Uh, Maytari, I don't think, or Lavendism, I don't think you have anything. Uh, oh, you have something recent, which is not actually that recent. You have nothing. Maybe I should feel something. Scratch that. Definitely should. So that's possible. I think chapter 2 from Kutara is pretty high on the list of things to read. Classics or Ace, you probably have something submitted if I had to guess. Maybe not anything more recent. Yeah, we read Good Morning Sunshine. So, Ode to a Poet is more recent than... Okay. Shall we read chapter 2 of Kutara's fantasy thing? I think that's a good idea. As long as you're fine with that and you're sending emotes, so seems you're excited and down for that. As we head over to a black screen. Oh no, it actually is connected. That's awesome. As we head over to Royal Road, a place that people post writing, I guess. Got some long lines of dialogue going on. I don't think I can functionally zoom out, so y'all have to bear with me. I'll try to keep the long lines in the gap between like chat and my face here, but I can't really guarantee that. Yeah. Okay. Let's and I will ask you. Let's see how long this is. Yeah, definitely too long for me to do screenshots, and maybe too long for me to read the whole thing. We'll see. Do you have any questions before I begin reading this? Any things you would like me to look out for? Any concepts you would like me to focus on? I know last time it was kind of like tone and style, so maybe we can talk about different things or the same things, or you could just let me read it and I'll talk. All of these are options. If I send it an excerpt from a story I've been working on, how should I format it? Should I send it as a PDF or something? I mean, this is like a link to Royal Road, so like if it's posted somewhere, that's fine. If it's a PDF or a Word document, that's fine. I like PDFs. I think those are easy to deal with. You could put it straight into Discord if it's short enough. If it's longer than that, I would ask that you don't put it into Discord. Really anything goes, as long as I can access it easily. Don't send me some, like, strange format of a image file that, like, I can't open on my iPad, you know? Totally up to you. Yeah, of course. I'll feel it out. It was 3,000 words. Okay. I'm a good out loud reader, as y'all may have noticed. So we'll see if I can stick through the whole thing. And I remember I was doing voices for the two characters. One was sort of very low and gravelly, and one was very like very nasal and like annoying. The wizard guy, but it looks like we might have some other characters as well. So we'll see if I go so far as to do voices. I like to do it with dialogue for myself to keep the distinction. It's only the second chapter, but I would love to hear your theories after reading it, like for the characters or the whole story, etc. Okay, so looking forward after I read this, the question of like, what might this be pointing toward? And as I read, if there are any moments that really scream to me as like foreshadowing, I'll let you know. I was reading Crime and Punishment. I'm reading Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and there was a big moment when I was reading yesterday that I like underlined, and I'm like foreshadowing with a bunch of question marks because it really felt like it was kind of pointing toward like the conclusion of the work. Actually, a few instances. Book's pretty decent so far. I'm done with part one of that book. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this story by Kutara 222. A dimly lit room. 3 men seated on chairs at a yellow liquid. Staring. Good start. 3 men seated on chairs, staring at a yellow liquid inside a glass bottle on the table. We're never going to use it, are we? The man with the eye patch grunted. Don't be an idiot. This is the most expensive thing on the market. If we sell it, we can get whatever we want. 1 sip, and tens of thousands in cash go down the drain. The greedy man let out a heavy breath. Fine, but who are we going to sell it to and how? The fat man answered eagerly. Ha! My cousin has connections. Tomorrow I'll take it to him. The greedy man shouted. Shouting, okay. Nobody's doing business with your fucking cousin. The man with the eye patch brought an index finger to his lips. Hey. Shut up. They looked at each other. A man's voice was heard from outside the one room. Look, this is the 8th one. If this isn't it either, I'm fucking leaving. A loud explosion, ear-splitting. The wall of the room collapsed. 2 men entered, one with golden curly hair, the other a tall, well-built man. This is Kale. The curly-haired man shouted, his voice a mix of joy and exhaustion. So, I think your dialogue is nice. Like, I think this is sort of a concept that we call in media res, INMEDIARES in literature, where we are sort of dropping the reader directly into something, not really giving them too much context, and it's just like stuff is happening, right? We introduce these people, this conversation, and we don't really know all the details, but we sort of start to learn about these characters through their interactions and through jumping into the action. And I think you distinguish these characters nicely in the way that they talk. They seem sort of like a mirror in a way of maybe Kale and the wizard, right? Kale is like big guy, and wizard is like a smaller, clever guy, right? The greedy man and the fat man. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something I noticed with these two. You probably don't need to say this is Kale here, because I think we're looking at this scene sort of, I feel, through the eyes up until this point of these 2 characters, right? And these 2 characters probably don't know who Kale is. I mean, maybe they do. But I think, like, your reader will know, because you're coming straight from chapter 1 or the prologue, and, we think, oh, golden curly hair, tall, well-built man, these are our 2 guys from earlier. And I think, oftentimes in prose, there's a value in efficiency, doing more with less. And I think just to say this is Kale, I don't think your reader needs that, At least I didn't. I'm like, these are the guys. These are my guys from chapter 1, right? Holy shit, finally. Hello, gentlemen. Oh my god. What do we have here? He pointed at the glass bottle on the table and the yellow liquid inside. One with golden hair. Okay, gotcha. Curly hair is shouting. If you don't mind, I'll be taking this. The man with the eye patch tried to stand. Wait! He was out of breath trying to get up. He couldn't make it. Fell to his knees, brushed off the stone and dust that had flown onto him from the wall's explosion. You can't take that. The curly-haired man stepped closer, bending down slightly to meet his eye level. Answered with a grin. Oh, of course we can. Catch this, Kale. The curly-haired man tossed the glass bottle to Kale. Kale caught it, rolled his eyes, turned around and walked back out through the broken wall. The greedy man was starting to come to his senses, slowly straightened up and got to his feet. The fat man was still on the ground. The curly-haired man spoke through clenched teeth. So, something I noticed, Kutara, right? Making reference back to the chapter that we read last time, is you're still doing like some of the very clipped sentences, and you're using it generally for like action when something happens or description, right? You go, the curly-haired man tossed the glass bottle to Kale. Kale caught it, rolled his eyes. And I really actually like this. I know I said last time as I was reading that I think I said if there was too much more of it in the following chapters, it would maybe like I would get frustrated with it. But I think the way you balance it with like the long sentences and the dialogue, and you occasionally drop in these things for like the moment of action, I think actually works quite well. And I enjoy it. So no complaints there. We were here. One thing. I mean, you can continually say like the fat man was still on the ground. The curly-haired man spoke through clenched teeth. I feel like kind of continually hearing the fat man, the curly-haired man, gets a little bit, I guess, just like repetitive on my ear. Maybe there are ways to play with how you refer to these people. And one way you can probably do that is to give more description of them. Because if these people have more different descriptions and more ways we can point to them, right? If the fat man is also wearing something, then we can describe him as such and point to him as this man, you know. And obviously we need something because we can't just say he, because everyone in this scene is male. But if we can find other other ways, could help. But these characters are like for one scene. Yeah, but I think maybe that line of thought to me is a little bit, is maybe misleading you a little bit, because even if these characters are just here for one scene, I think we can still write them as though they are people and as though they aren't just like archetypes and background characters. And I think that's something that really helps your story and your world feel more real, right? When you step into these two characters you've never met and are never going to meet again, and they feel like they're connected to the world, and they feel like they are interesting and unique, I think it engages your reader, because it makes your world feel vibrant, right? As a DM, when I run D&D, something I like to think about is when I introduce an NPC, right? Maybe it's just a shopkeeper that they're going to meet once, they're going to buy a potion, and they're never going to talk to again. But if I introduce this shopkeeper as a person, as a human, with an interesting appearance, with a different manner of speaking, a person who cares about something, then my players are going to be more interested in interacting with that character. They're going to enjoy my world more, and maybe even if I make that character particularly uh, memorable, then they will, remember this character, this random shopkeep who was so funny and eccentric that it's just like something that sticks with them. Uh, this is something I don't watch Critical Role, but I think that speaks to the impressiveness of the Black Powder Merchant. Critical Role is like a D&D campaign that's streamed. You're probably familiar. But Matt Mercer, the DM, they go to the shop, and they run into the Black Powder Merchant. And he's got this like crazy voice, and he's really like eccentric and quirky and funny. And I remember just even though like I was in D&D spaces, but I didn't watch Critical Role, seeing how much people loved the Black Powder Merchant, um, and I think that's a very good narrative thing to do, right? One way to frame it is to treat every character you write with respect, the same respect that you give to your main character. And that's maybe an odd way to think about it, but, treating them as though they are human, giving them a chance to have something interesting and unique about them. You don't need to flesh out their entire backstory, but you can hint at these things and suggest to your reader, even on a surface level, that they're human. For example, maybe the fat man and the greedy man work together a lot. It seems like it. We can just say they do for the sake of the example. And so when he mentions my cousin, right? Maybe maybe since they know each other, the greedy man would know the cousin's name. So you drop the cousin's name to show that, these people are connected to the world in a way that's real, right? He's not the generic cousin. He's, Phil, and Phil's going to buy it, right? And then the greedy man is like, no, fuck Phil. He's like whatever, and lists some reason that he's not trustworthy. Now you've created this bit of interest, this bit of reality, verisimilitude that your reader will kind of be interested in. Similarly, right, you could name these two characters and have them refer to each other just once by name. And then when you say the fat man, you could instead just say Charles, and he's Charles. These names are uninteresting and boring. Choose better names. But then he's just Charles. And even though he's only for this scene, he has a name. You don't have to keep writing the fat man, all of that. Also, surely would help you write more and sort of extend your word count, which, I think more writing is good. But it would help you do so in a way that is compelling, right? Moving on. I kind of got lost where we were. I think we're at morons. Curly-haired man tossed... Yeah, okay. Kale caught it, rolled his eyes, turned around and walked back through the broken wall. The greedy man was starting to come to his senses, slowly straightened up and got to his feet. The fat man was still on the ground. The curly-haired man spoke through clenched teeth. If you want to die, all you have to do is ask for it, you morons. But if you think you've still got some years left, then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to get the fuck out. The curly-haired man pulled his jacket aside, revealing a massive gun at his waist. The man with the eye patch got up and began backing away. The curly-haired man laughed again. Okay, holy shit. What a massive thing, a gun. Because up to this point, I've read this as a fantasy story, right? We began with spears and swords and such. And I think fantasy can have guns, right? But there's an interesting thing, right? Where my brain goes like AR-15 when you say massive gun. And maybe it's a rifle, maybe it's a magic gun, maybe it's something that would be, maybe it's this otherworldly thing that the characters within the world don't recognize, because a gun is something unique to this weird golden-haired wizard time-stopping character. Um, so I want to know more about the gun. And you can use that as a chance to, in the way of show don't tell, right? To describe the gun a little bit. And then that gives some world building to your world without, it's not the wizard from chapter 1. It's a different person. Okay, but it is still Kale. Um, okay, interesting. Uh, cool. Uh, but yeah, wait, the curly haired? The curly haired is not the wizard, and Kale is Kale, because Kale is the sword guy. Um, Kale is the warrior or whatever. Yeah, but I'd encourage you to describe the gun a little bit. That can help us, again, be placed within your setting, uh, and have more of an idea of maybe like the technology level of this world and that kind of thing. Because when I read gun, and then we just sort of don't continue, or don't give any more elaboration, I'm like, oh, cool. I want to know more. That seems strange, right? He can have a gun. Guns are cool. Guns in fantasy are awesome. Anyway, the man with the eye patch got up and began backing away. The curly-haired man laughed again. Wise choice. Good boy. Something I will note is the way that this curly-haired guy talks is fairly similar to your wizard, right? There's this cockiness. There's this, what does he say? He's like, we'll be taking, yeah, if you don't mind, I'll be taking this, right? And I think that's very similar to sort of the way that the wizard comes in our last chapter. And he's like, uh, just sort of like coy and cocky and, whatever. Uh, and I don't know how you describe the wizard. I'm not going to go looking, but I presume he's described differently. But again, the more we describe, if this guy is more than just curly hair, then he becomes more distinct from the wizard. We want our characters to be distinct. You can think about each of your characters as like a silhouette, right? And if you don't do anything really vivid to differentiate like the silhouette of a human from another one, it looks pretty much the same. But if you put a big hat on a silhouette, then one is identifiable from the other. You put a giant gun in the hand of one silhouette, then it's like, oh, these two people are different. That's the gun silhouette. That's the hat silhouette. And every bit of description you give to a character creates a more detailed outline of who they are and solidifies them in our mind, right? And that's why Kale, right? Kale, I sort of immediately recognize when you're talking about the big guy coming in. So I'm like, it's Kale. Dope. Awesome. He's our guy. Because in the first chapter, you give a lot of description about Kale and his chiseled warriorness and all of that. So yeah. I love YouTube's just always out of pocket comments from the YouTube stream. Do you know there are countries that allow people to get married when they're 15? I do know that. I might be blabbering and don't take me seriously, but I do agree that some of the characters and their introductions leave a bit to be desired. I feel like there should be more nuance to these characters rather than just stating their appearances and their dialogue. Okay. Then you're in agreement with me, Penguino, and consider that a second opinion toward doing so, Kutara. Um, in a way, I feel like there should almost be a psychoanalysis of the characters on the page itself, instead of just describing them as a smoker, for example. Perhaps a paragraph on their smoking habit, an analysis of the seasoned way they hold their cigarette, or them drinking coffee way too hot to be drank, which would scar the throat of any lesser person. So I will say that's a very like literary way of looking at introducing a character that feels very. I mean, I think of Dostoevsky, who I'm reading right now, who describes the way someone's hands are moving for an extended time. Proust, who will talk about the flavor of something for an entire page, and I think I don't know. I mean, some people definitely write that way in fantasy and sci-fi, and it can have that sort of really deeply attentive tone, um, and that definitely affects pacing, right? The more that we dig into something, the more we slow down the pacing of a work, and in this case, we might want Kale and curly hair to come kick down the door very quickly, and it might, kind of hinder our narrative to describe in that much detail. That being said, I think, yeah, more detail is very good, and it's always just about finding as an author, the personal balance of how much detail you want, how much you want to write, while also, conveying things effectively and interestingly, and all of that. Uh, so maybe I'd think of finding a happy medium between what you suggest, Pinguino, and what's on the page. Uh, I don't think I crave that much detail about these guys, but I do want them to feel real. I do not know. It's just an example. I would give readers something to run with apart from just appearance. But if you describe appearance, you could analyze it. I don't know. I think I'm just blabbering. I don't think you are. I think you're right that the more detail, the more of these things. Like, yeah, if you give a paragraph about a smoking habit, we really dig into this character's psyche and who they are, and that can be cool. Whether we need that in this story for these particular two, maybe not. Would we want something like that for Kale? I think it would be more called for. He seems to be our protagonist. Uh, but that also has to fit within the narrative at play. And it seems like we want something that's also fairly like snappy and forward moving here, from what I can tell. Right? This is sort of action in a way. Anyway, wise choice. Good boy. I like this character saying good boy. It's funny. Good boy. I can keep saying it because I'm a streamer. There are probably people out there who are like, yeah, keep saying good boy. He looked at the greedy man. You're going to follow your boyfriend's lead. Or do you have a death wish? The greedy man started breathing rapidly. He lunged forward and shouted. Nobody steals from us. He pulled his arm back and landed a square punch on the curly-haired man's face. The curly-haired man touched his nose with his hand and looked at the blood on his fingers, licked the blood running toward his lip, and smirked. Quite badass thing to do. But yeah, I mean, I think the sort of I like how this positions your sort of two main characters here in terms of like their power level, right? It shows that next to these sort of street thug kind of guys, these two are like very competent. They can take a punch without being bothered. They're sort of like your maybe like your level 10 D&D characters, to go back to that as an example. And I think, I personally am not the biggest fan of, let's say, like a sort of a power fantasy, right? Where it's just like badass hero going through doing badassery. But I think like you have some really nice beats that like really lean into the badassery of your characters, and I think there are some moments that are well done. I think the cockiness, and I think like the licking the blood. This curly haired guy is pretty freaky. So it also does some good things to sort of introduce who he is, even though we still don't have a name for him. Moving on. A light breeze and dark skies. Night had fallen. The surroundings were like a desert. Houses no more than 3 stories high. Kale outside, waiting in front of the house whose wall they had smashed through. Waiting and speaking to the device on his arm. Oh! Oh, so we're like time traveling as fuck. We're like in the future. We have devices on arms. Unless it's magic. Again, might help our reader know to describe these things. Maybe, I mean, like, you can be vague enough to, like, pull them in, but I guess this is a time travel story, maybe, is what I would think now, since we have, like, devices and guns and more gunshots and sort of 3-story houses, right? We're no longer in, like, medieval fantasy. No, no problems. Yes, we're on our way. Like I said, no issues. 2 gunshots rang out at once. A few seconds later, a third. Kale spun around quickly and looked back, answered the device on his arm hastily. Hey, I'll answer back, all right? He walked back into the room he had exited. The curly-haired man was coming out too. His face was covered in blood. Kale took a deep breath and spoke. Diego, you okay? What happened? Diego spat blood on the ground. Just had a little fun with the boys. Come on, big guy, let's go. Kale exhaled through his nose, furrowed his brows. You did it again, didn't you? What? You didn't have to kill them. Diego wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Look, they asked for it, all right? I didn't throw the first punch. Besides, there's no way they could have produced tech like this on their own. Who knows how many people they killed just to steal it? Bastards definitely had it coming. Kale stared hard at Diego. Diego slapped Kale on the back. Hey, don't stress about it, buddy. We got the job done. That's what matters, right? Kale didn't answer. Come on, don't be like that. The captain's gonna love this. Let's take this home. Diego closed his eyes. The metallic glove on his left hand glowed. He aimed his hand upward and curled his fingers, clawed and tore at the air, as if catching a bird. A purple rift opened. He grabbed both sides of the rift with his hands and pulled it open wider, stuck one leg in first, then ducked slightly and slipped entirely into the rift. Kale looked at the moon in the sky. Diego popped his head out and shouted. What? You gonna camp or something? Kale closed his eyes, entered the rift. Both of them vanished. The rift sealed itself shut, like a zipper. I like this interaction a lot. This interaction makes me really hate Diego, because he's just like arbitrarily violent, and that's kind of fucked up. But I like that it sort of shows that this is a pattern, that Diego is like genuinely like a fucked up person, right? Like he's done this before. By the way this is written, right? You did it again, didn't you? And Diego like knows he's not supposed to, and knows that Kale doesn't like it. So it's clear that Kale probably like really doesn't like this guy. I would have to guess, and I would be surprised if the story went on and Kale in any capacity got along with this guy. It makes me wonder if, in some capacity, like Kale has to work with him and there's not really much of a choice, is sort of where my head goes. They're assigned together, right? They're working for the captain. Maybe Kale is just sort of thrown into this, right? Yeah, it's definitely a balance, especially within the genre and what's up with the writer and which characters you choose to develop at a time or not. It's kind of like what Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli describes as ma. Like when you clap hands, it's the space between the claps. There should be space between the story and a point in time where the reader gains a relationship with the characters on the page. Uh, Page with them becoming relatable and developed instead of just names. Yeah, yeah, you have to find the balance. Before I submit the excerpt, is it okay to include graphic descriptions of violence and injuries? Yeah. It's for a horror story, and the descriptions are very necessary. Yep, you can do that. Uh, I might not like it, but I will read it. I'm not big on violence. Although it's yeah, but I'll manage. We'll see. I've never read like really graphic violence on stream, but it is allowed. You know. You made it to the intro. Yeah. So there's quite a bit more of this. And I think I'll read a bit more. I think maybe we'll get like halfway through. And maybe we can come back to this on another stream and do like half and then half. 1,000 words maybe, if this is 3,000, 1,000, or 1,500 maybe is like the sweet spot, it seems like, probably for the amount I would want to read of one person. So you can just keep that in mind. But we'll keep going. Absolute blackness, relative darkness. At the very center, pure white letters. Altering. People walking by. Not too crowded. A repair shop. A bar. And a pastry shop. A fancy sign hanging above it. Malloy's Sweets. An alleyway off to the side. No one was around. 2 large dumpsters. Suddenly, a purple light seeps out from between the trash. A rift opens. Diego pokes his head out. I think there's a very comedic aspect to this sort of sentence structure. When Diego pokes his head out, it's a sort of like thing, and it's all very mundane. Like 2 large dumpsters, and you could even like cut the suddenly. Because like everything is sort of sudden, right? This is like the camera cutting from thing to thing, like we talked about last time. So you create suddenness by like thing. And I think you'd hit like a little bit more of like the comedic angle if you want it. No one was around. 2 large dumpsters. A purple light seeps out from behind the trash. A rift opens. Diego pokes his head out. There we go. Not a soul in sight. Come on, big guy. Last one there is a rotten egg. Diego climbed out of the rift. And it sounds like you want comedy here, so you can lean into that. Diego climbed out of the rift, past the trash, stepped into the street, and entered the pastry shop. Kale fell into the dumpster as he climbed out of the rift, grunted and dropped to the ground in displeasure, brushed off some unidentifiable dust from his clothes, a candy wrapper in his hair. He quickly followed Diego into the pastry shop, called out from behind him. You should have opened the rift straight into the basement. What if someone saw? It's Tuesday, my friend. Tuesday. He pointed eagerly at the lemon cookies behind the glass counter. His expression is no different from a child. Hello, Miss Malloy. Lemon cookies. I'll take all of them. As Miss Malloy filled a paper bag with all the lemon cookies, Diego popped one into his mouth, started talking with his mouth full. Why do you only sell these on Tuesdays, Miss Malloy? I have serious complaints. Kale clenched his teeth and hissed loudly. Diego. Yeah? You... Kale let out a heavy breath, looked furious, started walking quickly toward the back and grumbled. Forget it. Diego and Miss Malloy exchanged a glance. Diego swallowed what was in his mouth and calmly stepped closer. Don't you worry at all, Miss Malloy. I'll show that ill-mannered brute what it means to disrespect your cookies on such a special day. As he said this, he grabbed a chocolate from the glass display and popped it into his mouth. They stared at each other. I would encourage you to consider, and maybe you have, um, what, like, why Diego is like this. Diego is a very fascinating character, right? He has this humor, he has this brutality, almost like two sides to him, or maybe the humor is the brutality. But he has this just like distance from reality, right? And I think in the same way as your thugs at the start, um, thinking about Diego as a human, what he wants, why he has this way of being to him, uh, certainly be beneficial. Maybe you've already done that, but it's something that makes me curious, and I would hope that that gets explored in some capacity, because this character is extraordinarily fucked up. He has a heavy backstory. Awesome. Uh, and it would be a shame to just have him be like quirky and humorous and absolutely brutal and uncaring, and not, have a reason for it. So definitely working on that. Excellent. Because like that's a sort of behavior in a person that you really like need to justify, uh, so that they don't feel like a caricature rather than a character. Because a character is closer to a human than a caricature, I think. Because a character maybe looks to represent a person, fictional or real. A strange place, resembling a massive laboratory, right beneath the pastry shop. The surroundings packed with technological equipment. A black man and a red-haired woman arguing. Black man exhales and turns to the woman, speaking slowly. Yes, we're only carrying out one operation tomorrow. It won't take long. The woman answered eagerly. Her voice was a bit too loud. Like, okay, well, I'll keep reading. Well, there you go. We'll tell the captain. He'll definitely come too. But why are you being such a buzzkill? I have reports to prepare, Lamaria. Look, this is one of my favorite movies, and it never got a sequel. But in this universe, it became incredibly popular, and the second film is playing in theaters tomorrow. Please, please, please. Why do I have to come? Is the theater gonna blow up if I'm not there? Lamaria crossed her arms, furrowed her brows, flicked her hair back. So I like this. You do some very subtle world building here, right? In this universe, it became incredibly popular. So now I'm starting to understand, right? The idea of this story, that we're jumping between different universes, and that's how our wizard guy comes into Kale's universe, grabs Kale out of that universe, etc., etc. I think is the pieces starting to come together. Probably not good that the black man is only the black man up to this point. I would definitely encourage some more humanity there. It's not a good look. um, and he has some personality in his dialogue, but give him a name. He probably has a name at some point. I hope he gets a name. Definitely do that earlier. Yeah, see, I don't know about the black man the second time. It's like the fat man, but like there's less. That's the sort of thing that I think would rub people poorly. Because Lamaria has been named. Just have Diego come in and be like, "What's up, blank?" And blank, or, "What's up, guys?" And then talk specifically to the black guy and say his name. Just continue, OMG, haha. Just gotta make sure I think that's important. You're a terrible friend. Even Kale said he'd come. The black man let out such a heavy sigh that the papers in front of him scattered, closed his eyes a few seconds and opened them again, answered slowly, "Fine." "What? What fine?" "Fine. I'll come. But if..." "Yes! You're amazing! Paul!" Okay, his name is Paul. Still, I think it might be better earlier. "I'll never forget this. If you only knew how much this means to me." Paul looked toward the elevator at the back. "Hey, they're back." Lamaria turned around. "Our Greek god has returned. How was the mission? You guys still have your insides, right?" She picked the candy wrapper in Kale's hair. Paul adjusted his glasses. "Where's Diego?" The room turned purple. A rift opened in the ceiling and Diego jumped in. "Hi, ladies. Daddy's home. Look what I brought you." Diego slammed the yellow liquid bottle onto the table, then opened the cookie box and started eating again. Paul stood up, looked Diego up and down, and started speaking. "Why didn't you come together?" Turns out the big guy wasn't really in a cookie mood." Paul glanced at Kale, then turned back to the cookie box, raised his eyebrows. "Wait a minute. Did you just use a rift to go down one floor?" Kale rolled his eyes and left the room. Diego spread his arms. "Yeah. What was I supposed to do? He took the elevator by himself." Lamaria sat backwards on the chair Paul had gotten up from. "You shouldn't use a rift for something like that, Diego. These things aren't cheap." "Whatever." Diego went into the side corridor, hummed a nonsensical melody as he walked away. The large door in the center opened. The strangely dressed man entered. Paul immediately turned toward the door and called out, "Hey, Captain." Okay, so strangely dressed man is probably strangely dressed man from chapter 1. The captain is my guess, you introducing him as such. The thing is that, like, one, strangely dressed is pretty vague. And two, these people are probably used to what he wears, even if he dresses strangely, right? And I think about in the same way as you know, I was talking about that the opening of this section, this chapter, was like looking through the eyes of those two thugs. I think like through the eyes of the people in the setting now, right? This is the captain. He's not the strange dressed man. And you could describe his strangeness more detail. You could describe his strangeness more in detail in the prior chapter, and then you'd be able to leverage that here. The captain adjusted whatever bit of strange dress, and then it's like, oh, it's the guy from the start, right? That would probably work pretty well. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I know that it's the guy, but... "Hey, Captain." Lamaria gathered the papers on the table. The captain spoke with a smile. "I heard voices. Was it them?" Lamaria sighed. "Yes, in the flesh. They seem to be fine, and they brought the liquid back safe and sound, but..." Paul continued Lamaria's sentence, but Kale seemed a bit down. He went to his room. So, unless these people don't know what the liquid is, they're probably not going to call it the liquid. They're probably going to call it, like, the timey-wimey fluid, or the goop juice, or the radioactive liquor, or whatever it is, right? Or the dragon blood, right? They're not going to call it the liquid, unless they just genuinely don't know. Maybe it is a vague liquid that's causing universal temporal disturbances, right? But they would probably call it the whatever. And then that actually lets you world build and show don't tell, right? It tells your reader what the liquid was, or at least the name of it, by using what they would actually say in character, which I think would do you good. Haha, radioactive, lol, yeah. but I don't know what it is, right? I still don't know what it is. And this is maybe a point where you could clue in the reader on what the liquid is. The captain walked slowly into Kale's room, closed the door. Kale was just sitting on his bed. The captain approached and sat down beside him. Hello. Kale didn't answer. Seems like something's bothering you. What happened? Kale didn't even stir. He was staring straight at the wall ahead. The captain glanced at Kale, then leaned in slightly and whispered, Follow me. Kale lifted his head and looked at the captain leaving the room. He got up and started walking after him. The captain picked up the liquid from the table. Paul immediately looked up and adjusted his glasses. Oh, I'm taking this, if that's okay. Paul immediately looked up and adjusted his glasses. Ah, yes. Of course, Captain. The captain took the bottle filled with yellow liquid and turned to Kale, extended his hand, smiled. They held hands. Both of them glowed in a blue hue and vanished. The resulting air current scattered the papers on the table. Paul grumbled. That's where I'll leave it for today, because there's still a bit more. But I'd say overall, I think the one thing that I crave is the specificity, right? Details, characterization, and that sort of stuff. And that's probably just something as you just keep writing and going into the next chapter, you just start to add in more of. I think that's probably a better way to approach that than going back and necessarily like editing this. Because as writers, we are always improving, and it's often better to just, keep writing forward rather than sitting and iterating on things, because then we get, stuck on one chapter forever. But I think it's good. I think it's surprising in the way that it sort of, twists from like the original, like whatever kind of, sword and shield combat, not necessarily fantasy, I suppose, to this like sci-fi, high-tech, futuristic thing. I think it's pretty dope. And I think, there are a couple things that would help smooth it out, but I think like generally it works nice. And now we have, the title altering as the name of the company, right, that they are working for. So that's exciting. You even have a little cover, and that's probably Diego, and that's Paul, and maybe that's Kale, but that might be Kale. That might be the captain. That could be the captain. One of these two is Lamaria, probably. So, getting some of our characters. I don't know. I don't know if I was. Oh yeah, it was showing. But yeah, I think this is great, and it's a nice follow up. I think the clipped sentences and the that sort of style is very compelling, and the way you use it is nice in this chapter. So I would encourage you to keep doing it in that way, dropping it in when it works, and interested in Diego. You asked me, as I read it, what I think, maybe looking forward, where this goes. And, it seems to me that, at this point, what I know, right, we're following this cast of characters, particularly Kale, working for a inter-universe, some kind of agency, probably saving the world or something, or detectives or that kind of thing. Or maybe they act in their own interest, right? But I of course I'm curious to know like what altering is, what they're trying to do. I think that's something that immediately jumps into my mind. Uh, Interested to see the relationships of the characters play out. I could imagine an increasing rift and tension growing between Diego and Kale. Uh, yeah, Diego and Kale, where you know Kale really starts to hate Diego, and like they stop being able to work together, or they literally have conflict, like uh, outright combat between each other. I could certainly see that happening. Uh, but yeah, in terms of where it goes, it's so hard to tell because I could imagine a world where they're jumping between universes and the next one is totally in something wild and crazy and different, right? And I imagine maybe this might be what you're going for is every chapter they're sort of in a different world, right? Different universe. And oh, altering like an alternate universe. Gotcha. Uh I would be interested to see the world building itself of the timelines and the alternate universes, and it seems like they have a main universe where they hang out, maybe in their lab underneath the pastry shop. uh I wonder if this is one of the stories where they run into themselves in the other universes, or if for some reason they are the only versions of themselves in the timeline. There's definitely a lot of like that sort of like uh, context, which I presume will be built out. Uh, but those are all things that I think I am thinking about, right? Yeah. Any other questions on it? On chapter 2, or most of chapter 2 of Altering? You really appreciate it? I appreciate you submitting your work. Uh, it's a joy to read. I'm really excited that I'm reading prose now on stream. I think this is a cool piece, and I'm just excited to keep reading more of it, right? Uh, that's cool, right? As it keeps going on, I'll get to keep reading this story. That's badass. No further questions. Well, thank you for submitting. Lovely work, and can't wait to see more. Yeah, that's all for that one, which means we will certainly move on to another work by someone else in chat. Maybe some poetry, maybe some prose, depending on who is still here. This is a great time for people to surface from lurking. If you have things that you want to send in, or have me to read that you have sent in. But as y'all figure that out, uh, we'll decide on what's happening next after a break. That's what I was trying to navigate to. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Stand up, stretch, drink water, do something healthy for you because your body deserves that. You deserve that. Step away from the screen. Look at a wall. Look at something beautiful. Have a snack. Do some push-ups. It's usually what I do. Push-ups and L-sits. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Hello. Welcome back. It's still me, it's still Imogen. We are still maybe reading, writing from chat. And that's good. That's lovely. That's what we do here. I don't know who else is around. One sec. I don't know if anyone is left in chat, but I am here to read another thing. If there are people with things submitted who are looking to have me read their work and talk about it and all that. But I don't know unless I am told. But yeah, that was a pretty dope story. And maybe if not, if no one else has things they want read, I could also talk about my poetry manuscript and editing and that kind of thing, because that's something I would. You're still here, but you read my short story. Yeah, probably not reading another Nikki J01 today. But that being said, I mean, I could, right? If there's genuinely nobody, I certainly could. But I don't know how I would work on editing. I guess I would put it on the iPad. I'm definitely down for the manuscript speak. You're chillin', Lavenism. Do you have something submitted? Or I guess you just submitted a bit of your horror story work in progress. Do you have anything else? Oh, you have nothing. That's right. Would you be open to me reading one of those right now? Are you around for the duration? And if so, which one would you prefer I read? Sure. I can do either. I'm feeling equally poetry and prose, I would say. So that is your call. It's really fun to read prose on stream and talk about it. It's difficult, sort of. I'm not used to it, right? Sort of going back between like reading some and talking some, because I'm used to reading the poems all the way and then like giving all the feedback and going back, and that's just not the same approach as reading prose, right? But I find it really beneficial, and I feel like it will probably help my own prose, just as reading a lot of poetry on stream has immensely, I mean, it's taught me everything I know about poetry, right? And looking at prose, and whenever I see something that I don't, that I'm like, oh, I would write this differently, or that I don't like in something, it gives me instruction on how to write my own work. And then when I find the things I do like, right, it's an indication of the things to do right, which has helped my poems a lot. And I suppose my prose, I'm far more proud of it than the poem I'd written. Yeah, let's read the prose. Unnamed murder mystery detective horror story work in progress is the unnamed name of the work. Whoa. This looks cool. Whoa. I'm like just like scrolling through it. Lots of like formatting going on. Okay. I think I'll have to pull up my camera a little bit. Slide this here. Get that roughly centered on the side. That looks good. That looks mostly readable, probably. And I will ask you the same question that I always ask. if there's anything in particular you want me to focus on as I read this, if you have any questions going into this, or if you have any context. You have given a synopsis, which I think is nice and helpful. That seems useful as I'm jumping into something unfinished, and maybe gives me some context on what you intend with this work, right? And that synopsis is: Bruno Aurelius, known as the Detective, teams up with his rival and ex, Klaus Klein, so it's gay, to solve a murder case in a Germanic town, only for them to both realize they're in way over their heads when the victims' corpses are found with their organs harvested through their chests. That's badass. I'll add it in the post. I will copy and paste it. My main inquiry is, what do you think about the two protagonists and their roles in the excerpts? Okay. Well, I already like that they're gay, right? That's cool. But that's not. That doesn't mean they're well written, unfortunately. Not Gay Detective's my favorite. Yeah. Let's read it. It's nice and short, so that's good. Just a few excerpts, it looks like. Klaus Klein and Bruno Aurelius. I like the, like whenever you have duos, right? They need to have names that I think like a great duo has great duo name, and Klaus Klein, right, has this very harsh sound to it, and Bruno Aurelius is this like sprawling kind of beautiful name. And I hope their personalities reflect those names, and because they feel different already, and I like that. Names can certainly do that. Klaus Klein and Bruno Aurelius were notorious amongst the criminal justice system for their dynamic. People speculated they were ex-friends who deeply disagreed with each other's methods, because it was public knowledge that Mr. Klein despised Mr. Aurelius, but none knew the truth behind their story. Mr. Klein was quite an interrogative and aggressive man who didn't care about the consequences of his own actions, so long as he got his information. Nobody in his team of police officers and intern detectives dared to go against him, but Mr. Aurelius always seemed to do so. Mr. Aurelius, on the other hand, was kind-hearted and generous with criminals. As long as the criminals were truly apologetic for their crimes, he would turn in their evidence with a note advocating for them to have a lowered sentence. Mr. Klein always seemed to scorn his heart of gold. Okay, perfect. That's the dynamic I was looking for in the names. Like Aurelius, heart of gold, right? Or aurum is gold in Latin, I believe. So that's kind of nice. Sometimes, though, Mr. Klein would look at the other with deep yearning, and Mr. Aurelius would simply ignore him. I like their dynamic, right? It's a good dynamic, right? It's good cop, bad cop. I mean, it's pretty classic, right? I can't complain, but it's good cop, bad cop with deep yearning. So badass. Tuesday, July 2nd. I can't do this anymore. Red spews out of my crevices, and I feel like death has crawled into my mind, and I cannot stop seeing red, red, red. Morse code with translation. My organs have split out of the cavity that is my chest. Entropy has come knocking at my door. SOS. 0 to 100 real quick. Yes, absolutely. And this is page question mark. So that happens at some point. Unless that's sort of part of this, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Cool. So that's where we're going at some point. Bruno's face visibly went pale as he translated the Morse code. Who wrote this? The victim or the murderer? Bruno slowly questioned Klaus. He clearly already had an idea in his mind. Klaus shrugged. No clue. Could have been either one. Although I'm leaning toward the latter, myself. The victim couldn't have written this, in my opinion, because his corpse, as mangled as it was unidentifiable. Whoever wrote this was probably going through some sort of drug trip and murdered the guy. Bruno squinted at the other suspiciously. No. Did you not understand what this person was writing? Entropy has come knocking on my door. My organs have split out of the cavity that is my chest. That sounds like the victim's corpse to me. Hello, Havend Lowend Hevyar. Welcome. How am I? I am well. How are you? We're reading an excerpt from a story, a supernatural detective story. Klaus smirked. Are you sure? Hallucinations like that are a major part of drug trips. Are you positive that it wasn't written by a druggie? So, Lavendism, I like the dialogue happening here. I think you're like you sort of nicely characterize them within the way they talk without being too like overt. Like yeah, I like this sort of no. I think it gives like a nice tone to their interactions, and this is sort of the way that they talk. And Klaus smirked. Are you sure? Right? There's kind of this playfulness, somewhat. But I like this. Right? Two detectives like working the thing out. Certainly compelling. I feel like. So it'd almost be a very cool opening to a story, right? It is really compelling, where, like that's the beginning, right? Positioning this sort of within the theme, the dynamic of the two. Not that I don't think this is necessarily the opening of the story, but it could be cool. You drop us in with the detectives into their figuring things out. Again, sort of in media res, in the middle of things. And I like the writing, though. Yeah, I'm great at narration. My usual issue is that I suck at detailing the scene. Yeah, and we don't really give any detail to the scene here. And I think that's okay, right? I think if you continued this excerpt... if we don't know where they are, it might be nice to place them. There is the fact that, right, it's a detective story and they're sort of like figuring things out. And it's really about their conversation and their mind and all of that. So I think you can probably go for a while without always necessarily describing the scene if really the point of it is their conversation and they're working through things. Because, like, where they are isn't the most useful detail here. It doesn't totally support what's going on. As it goes on longer, we might want a more vivid picture, and you could tease it out with little mentions. Maybe Klaus smirked and leaned back in his chair, right? Now we know a little bit. They're sitting at a table, and maybe because Klaus is smirking and leaning back, Bruno is standing over, the table as he's squinting, right? These are ways to, like, tease out the scene. Bruno stood up and paced across the room, walking past whatever, could help flesh out the scene without, like, forcing it. And that's probably a good way within a story like this. This seems like it's very character focused, at least this scene, and probably your story in general about these two detectives and their dynamic and their grappling with this case. So using their actions and always keeping the camera focused on them, right? And using their actions to show the world around them. Probably a good way to do it. Probably conducive to horror as well, right? Because then it becomes very intimate with the character, right? The camera following them. We can think of a horror film. And So then when scary stuff happens, we always feel very close to them. So that's something to think about. I've not written horror, but it seems like that might work to me. Nor have I written detectives, nor have I written very much prose. I've read a lot. Moving on, though, to another excerpt. You should know that all roads shall lead to Rome. That's how I read that. The creature crackled more than spoke, its mouth never quite moving, still smiling in its sharp manner as it harshly pulled on his arm. Bruno grit his teeth, thinking to himself that he really wasn't paid enough for this fucking nonsense. He tried to rip his arm out of its grasp. I wonder if Bruno is thinking in this moment, right? This is like a terrifying monster creature, and I wonder if Bruno, like, maybe there's a more active way to either say, him thinking he wasn't paid enough for this fucking nonsense, but it's sort of like he grit his teeth, thinking to himself, right? He's like sitting there thinking. It feels like it sort of lifts from the action in a way that maybe is not scary, right? He tried to rip his arm out of its grasp, yet only succeeded in drawing blood. The creature tilted its head. Oh, I mean, it's smiling, it's sharp, it's crackling. Oh, you dare to try and escape me? Ha, your bloodline shall fall now. I don't know what the voice of this monster is. Stop spouting bullshit. Bruno twisted his arm and tried to get out of its hold. We got Klaus. Klaus chucked a knife at the creature to divert its attention and injure it, but the blade ricocheted off while its head slowly turned toward the raven-haired man. Klaus Klein. A sickening crack as the creature fully turned, and Bruno screamed. The creature dragged him along, his face scrunched up in agony, his radius and ulna utterly shattered. Tear tracks trailed down his cheeks. All he could see was red, red, red. There's like a poeticness to this that I really enjoy. And it's unsurprising, you being a poet. Dripping down onto the ground, covering it all with vermilion, dying nerves alight and twisting, half-aborted neuron signals ablaze. Yeah, I like this. And I think this feels like a scene that's meant to be fast, right? Creature, and then... what's this one's name? The not Klaus. Bruno, right? It's like creature, and then it's Bruno, and then it's like throw the knife, and then it's like hand broken. And I think, with action scenes in writing, I like to think about, the film camera. And if this was a scene in a horror movie, right? Because this is your horror story, right? And it's like, how can you be as efficient and quick? I mean, we can think about what we were reading earlier with some of the action scenes in Kutara's writing that were basically like snipped sentences, beat, 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 right? Where they were even fragments, not necessarily grammatical. Maybe you could employ something like that. I don't know how well you would be able to, or how well you would write that, or if you want to, but that sort of like sudden cut, right? You could think about how to write something that reflects that feeling. But I think that's always something to keep in mind, right? I want this to feel a certain way. How do I communicate that feeling on the page? How do I communicate the fear? But a lot of your writing is just very, I think a lot of your writing is very clean and it's very grammatical up to this point. And I'd encourage you, in a poetic sort of way, to find ways to break that, to lean into the things you're trying to communicate. I really like the red, red, red. And I think you can use concepts like that to quickly get from Creature to Bruno to Klaus to a Broken Arm. It's dope. Uh, Bruno turned his head to see a room soaked in red. You should know that all roads shall lead to Rome, Klaus whispered, his bloodied thumb caressing Bruno's cheek. Isn't that right, love? Bruno shuddered, his eyes staring through the man like he didn't recognize his own ex. It's not fair, Klaus murmured with a laugh, that you moved on without me. His other hand quickly wrapped around Bruno's throat, pressing tightly against his larynx. As Bruno clawed at Klaus's hand, Klaus only smirked. Love me, that's what you wanted. But there's nothing left to love now. You're smart enough to say you're mine, and yet you can't recognize the monster you've bred. Bruno's attempts weakened, losing oxygen rapidly. Yet Klaus kept his grip regardless. Bruno, Aurelius, I despise you for leaving me, for killing me, for causing this mess. I loathe you. You disgust me. The phone recording abruptly ended there, and Klaus felt the color in his cheeks fade. When did this happen? He would ever do something like that, especially not to Bruno, right? Oh, what a... This scene is, badass. He may be on poor terms with the blonde, but Klaus still loved him. He would never try to murder Bruno, especially since they're both detectives. I mean, last line's, like, weak, whatever. It can, like, go on in some other direction, but this? And so I think, like, you have this writing that is very... Your writing is very comfortable in, like, the normal human speaking voice, is what it feels like. When Klaus is talking at a regular pace, when Bruno and like in this, it's moving at the pace of like regular speech, and I think your writing is very suited for that, and you have just enough detail, and you have just enough like I think it's structured very, very nicely, where like it was pulling on my heartstrings a little bit, and thinking of that as one of like the culminating moments of the book. Probably this is toward the end. Really good, right? I love how it sort of like blends like the memory of the actual thing with like Klaus being presented with the phone recording, right? I guess maybe it's a video recording, right? I don't know if it's audio or video. I love the idea of like listening to the video and then it's also the memory of Bruno or something. That's sort of how I read it the first time. Maybe that was misreading, but that's a very poetic way to read it. This is great, right? So then it's when you're not writing the conversation and like the dialogue and this pace, how do you edit your really solid regular prose for these moments that go outside the regular, right? For your dramatic moments, for your action moments, for your probably even your moments that are descriptive and exist at a slower pace than regular life. Thinking about how you approach those and how you approach your writing and your tone and your language differently in those parts would probably help you, right? But I mean, yeah, it makes sense that you're proud of this. For just a few excerpts, I think I understand this story a lot, right? It's this, these two detectives, this, this sort of yearning, this sort of longing, and then like the way that maybe the creature like plays on those things, or involves themselves in their mind, and yeah, uh, it's cool. I dig. I just don't want them to be tragic gays. I want them to be happily ever after. Too many tragic gays in media, right? This is not focusing, but Doomed Yowie, yeah. Doesn't really matter since we already read it. Do you have any other questions? I didn't talk, you know, in maybe too much detail, but um, I think a lot of it's very strong, and I think the thing that to me needs most work is this kind of writing, um, and then I think just write more, right? Only four excerpts, give me a chapter, give me a few pages. um, I like the idea of this Morse code, right, in the actual book not being translated, right? This sort of thing of like involving your reader in the sort of feeling of being a detective. There are some readers who would maybe go translate the Morse code. You could certainly play with stuff like that uh, in your book. Of course, they kind of they describe it later, right? You have it untranslated in the actual draft. That's awesome. Uh, but yeah, I'd love to read. Okay, intended final word count 10 to 20,000. So that means this is like more of a short story. Maybe that's what you said in your submission, that this is a uh, mystery detective horror story. Is 10,000 words, 20,000 words a short story? I don't know how many pages that ends up being, but I guess that's probably like 20 pages, right? 20 to 30 to 40. If a if maybe like a I guess no, maybe. I'm thinking of like essays and like 1,000 word essay and what that looks like. Um, but I think that's probably a good target word count, right? I think shooting for something on the lower end is good, because then if you write more, you'll end up with more, and that's fine. But then you're not like setting out to do something as massive and just seeing where it goes. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Did you have? I don't remember if you. Oh. You put a question before. You said, "What do I think about the two protagonists and their roles in the excerpts?" Um, yeah. So first of all, I like the dynamic and the characterization of the two of them. I think you create really nice contrast between Klaus and Bruno, and I think their dialogue seems different enough at the parts that you do. Definitely like lean into that, them being different. Um, and in terms of their roles, uh, I like the idea of Bruno as this sort of kind, more even level person, whereas maybe Klaus is the one who is more assertive and intense, and maybe more neurotic in some capacity. Uh, at least that's sort of how I see them, right? Level headed and a little more fiery. And thus, it is Klaus who the monster is able to, like, it seems like psychically prey upon somehow. I think that makes sense within the story. Uh, from like what I know of it so far. And I like that in that moment at the end of horror, right? The love between the two, or the unrequited love, is fundamentally wrapped up in the horror itself, right? It's not just a detective horror story with love slapped onto it, it feels like kind of a story that can only be written as both love and horror. And that's really nice. That's really exciting to me and my sort of poetic literary brain, because there is so much horror and so much pain and so much uh, sort of non-reality to the experience of love. So to use something like this creature uh, is really cool. Without spoiling it too much, the monster is in fact supposed to be connected to Klaus, but how connected they are is a secret for now. Gotcha. That's cool. Uh, yeah, and I mean, I think maybe I could start to try to read that metaphorically, right? Unrequited love as this sort of ceaseless, hungering, monstrous experience, if it is entertained and not sort of stifled. Uh, I mean, I'm certainly one to read works as metaphors. When I watched Alien, I was thinking about the whole film metaphorically, with the Cenobite as a metaphor for God. um, but I think the work has a lot of like metaphorical, literary, very like serious exploration of the human condition potential, um, beyond just being like a lovely combination of supernatural, detective, and gay. And I think there are a lot of people who would be happy to just read something because it is supernatural, detective, and gay. But I think the fact that this story looks like it might step beyond that and might be something uh, more artistic, more involved, more complex, is exciting to me. And as you keep writing more, I certainly am interested in reading more. um, yeah. Thank you for submitting that, Lavendism. I know I didn't spend too much time on it. We don't have to be done. If you have more questions about it, we can keep talking about it. That felt very wrapping up, but doesn't have to be done. Can I still ask questions about writing even though I didn't submit anything? Yes. You can ask questions about the writing we talk about. You can ask questions about writing in general, poetry in general, life. I love to just answer questions and talk about writing and poetry and all of those things in the abstract. Of course, the reading of people's works is really nice, because this gives us like a concrete process for like coming up with and discussing different topics and ideas, and it's more exploratory and active. But yeah, I love just general writing questions. It's usually easier than I don't know why Autobot held that, but I'll let that through. What did you say? I should ask, how do you feel about the pacing about my story, even though it's just a few paragraphs long and still a work in progress? Why would Autobot hold that message? Does WIP stand for something other than work in progress in other settings? How do I feel about the pacing of your story? Yeah, I mean, so I feel like pacing, to me, I think about pacing as the time that it takes to get from one event to the next event to the next event, right? So pacing is about kind of multiple things occurring. And pacing is probably like the average across an amount of time. So, like, for example, in what we just read, I really have no concept of pacing, because these are very just like scattered excerpts, right? And in yours, I would say that it's the same, right? The pacing, I mean, so you have an excerpt at the beginning, and it does have a pace to it, right? You write it at a very slow pace. And I think if that slow pace continued for too long, you would probably lose some readers. I would probably lose interest. Uh, but if you start to have things change, right? Things happen, action, events, changes, uh, then that would change the pacing. And then it would suddenly become like, whoa, something's happening. Something's interesting. What's going on, you know? But the thing with pacing, right, is that pacing isn't just always having things happening. Pacing, I think, really at its best is about contrast. We have slow moments, and then things happen, and then we pull back for introspection, and then we have mystery and twists, and then we have like a release, and then we have heavy action, and then we pull back, and then we have the climax, right? Uh, there's this uh, idea in like samurai films, because these are like action films, right? Those were basically the westerns of Japan. Um, in samurai films, that like right before the big climax, you would have a moment of really quiet introspection, and it sort of like reminds you of the reason for the fighting. So it takes you out of all of the intense combat action and it pulls you back. So then when you go into that last, most intense moment, the finale of the film, right, it creates that contrast to make that stand out from the rest. And that's pacing to me, right? Pacing isn't just about getting through stuff, it's about how we push and how we pull. And since you haven't pushed yet in your story, Ray, and that's okay, right? Some things start as a slow burn. That's fine. Uh, I think of like Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings is slow for a long time. Uh, you can wait for a long time, and then it's when we change that we start to see like really an author's understanding of pacing and how they use that in the work. Lavendism. I will share that my initial idea when I wrote the creature's dialogue was that the timeline was looping every time Klaus got too close to Bruno. Specifically, the creature was intended to be a version of Klaus that fell into an obsessive love-hate. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Love-hate as the monster over Bruno and kept repeating the loop to either kill Bruno or make him his. But that idea got scrapped as I wrote more. Yeah, I don't think you need to like necessarily have it be literal. I think the monster can very much be a metaphorical representation of this idea sort of, or this feeling idealized into creature. Um, but it makes sense that that's where you started, and I think that does come through. I mean, I sort of mentioned that idea as I was pondering about it, so I love where it's going. I'm very excited for your story, Lavendism. Pacing is hard. uh, Pacing is very difficult, but it's funny because I've never thought about pacing before. In like you asked that question, Ray, about pacing, and that was just sort of the answer that came to me in the moment, intuitively as someone who reads a lot, because I don't write a lot of prose, but having read a lot of books and a lot of prose, uh, I think that's the best answer I have right now. That pacing is in the change and in the flow of like scene to scene to scene. I feel like framing it in that way really makes me want to go write some prose. Uh, it would be very nice if y'all sending your prose to me gets me back into writing that stuff because I have a novel that's just on the back burner that I would still probably write. I'm still excited about it. And but even thinking about that work through the lens of pacing, how it pushes and pulls from one thing to the next, makes it so much easier to think about like writing that book. So I've learned something today. Your question taught me something, Ray. That's very exciting. I love when I learn on stream. And maybe that's information I already knew, but I hadn't said it in that way. If you hadn't asked that question, that might sound strange that I'm thanking you, but like I mean that. Um, Sometimes people look at me strange. They'll like ask me something, and then I'll answer, and then I'll come up with an idea, and then I will thank them, and I'm like, I wouldn't have come up with that idea if you didn't ask that question. Uh, then they like raise their eyebrow at me and like, why are you thanking me? I just asked you, you know, an innocuous question. I was inspired by several things like Sherlock Holmes, obviously, Phoenix Wright, forensic science, television shows. I see. Forensic science television shows, looking at you, forensic files, and even a Vocaloid song. Crazy where inspiration comes from, right? But yeah, I have not consumed a lot of mystery detective media. It's a big like blind spot in my reading. So, but luckily, I guess I've got 2 detective stories now being sent to my stream, so I can start to learn now, right? uh, yeah, and like the crime television was never really my thing. So, coming from different worlds, I have listened to a decent amount of Vocaloid though. Listening on my way home. Hi, Combat Wombat. Thanks for listening in. Side note, I just realized why my story's WordStar text file is unintelligible when I'm transferring it to LibreOffice Writer. WordStar has legacy control characters that doesn't work well with modern software, so I needed a converter for that. Still trying to figure that out. I think I find it funny, that you use the retro stuff. I think it's really cool. Um, like I personally would find that so frustrating that I would never use it. I think that's a beautiful testament to the fact that human brains work differently, right? And that the fact that I write pen and paper, some people would just never like be able to do, and I can't type right on a Google Doc. I think that's really cool. And if that works for you, if suffering through file formatting helps you stay motivated to write, as baffling as that is to me, I'm all for you doing that. um, there got to be like 10 people, right, who use WordStar in 2026, and I think it's cool that you're one of them. That's like WorldStar. What is WorldStar? That was like a thing from like I remember that from like the 2010s. What was WorldStar? WorldStar Hip Hop. Is that what I'm thinking? Is it like a video platform? Fight videos. Yeah. Yeah, this was like a yeah. That's crazy. Haven't heard of that since like the 2010s. WordStar, not WorldStar. Yeah. It just made me think of it. And I'm like, I recognized that idea. Um yeah, I realized why a couple of people are confused and went, okay, why you're not using a modern writing software at all. Yeah, I mean, you do you, right? I think there's a real beauty in the fact that everyone has their own process as an artist, and finding what works for you and what is fun and interesting and sustainable is the most important thing. And the fact that you use the weird, quirky retro technology, and it doesn't matter if people think it's weird and quirky, right? Um, because it sounds like it gets you writing. My favorite horror media is absolutely not thriller. Thriller is stuff like Insidious or FNAF or Stephen King stuff, and that's not scary to me. It's just shock value. My favorite horror media is stuff like The Ring or analog horror. I've heard the Ring. I've heard the name. I don't know what it is. Nor do I know what analog horror is, so maybe I need to be enlightened. My sister is a big fan of horror, and just finished. What is the book called? It's the book with the pinhead guy who's got all like the nails in his head. But she really recommended that one to me. It has like a weird artistic kind of name. Sino, no. What are they? I don't know what that book is. But recommended that one. She's recommended me lots of horror things that I haven't really looked into. My only like horror movies, I've watched Alien, and I've watched like Halloween, like some of the Halloween horror movies. I watched Blair Witch Files. Not a big horror person. Blair Witch. It's not Files. Blair Witch. The Blair Witch. Is it Files? Blair Witch Project? Don't know. But The Ring. The Ring. I am not really familiar. The Ring. Oh, there's a girl crawling out of a TV. I recognize that. So what is it about The Ring that makes this so is that Hellraiser? Yeah. Yeah, but the book is called something else. There's Hellraiser the movie, and then there's the Pinhead guy, and the book is called The Hellbound Heart. The Hellbound Heart. There we go. We made it. Thank you, the mighty DD. Yeah, but so Lavendism. What is it about analog horror, which I don't even know what that is, and The Ring that makes you like that? And is that something you're trying to capture in your writing and in this story you're creating? Maybe I should look up analog horror. Maybe that means there's no like special effects or something. Analog horror. We can go to the Wikipedia page. Oh my gosh, Wikipedia has a little pride banner. We like that. Edit with pride and win. Participate in Wiki Loves Pride 2026. Maybe I should participate in Wikipedia. I've always wanted to like go in and do Wikipedia article editing. I think that's a really noble thing to do. That could be kind of fun to stream. Take something I'm an expert in, basically obscure corners of music and poetry, and go in and cite my sources and edit articles. I would have fun doing that. That'd be a fun thing to stream. Analog horror is a subgenre of horror fiction commonly characterized by low fidelity graphics, cryptic messages, few to no traditional jump scares, and visual styles reminiscent of late 20th century television and analog recordings. Found footage, film genre. Okay. So gained widespread popularity with Local 58. I feel like I saw a YouTube video about Local 58. Yeah, I feel like I saw a video essay about it. This is definitely not my corner of media. I mean, Backrooms. I know Backrooms. Marble Hornets. Mandela Catalog. ARG. Gotcha. Well, I think this helps me understand what you're talking about. Um, that's super cool. Not my thing, but I appreciate the sharing. Uh, and maybe my chat sending me horror writing and stories is my sign to start reading some and to get learnt and knowledgeable and all of that. I don't think anyone else who's in my chat has things that they've submitted for me to read. I mean, maybe Nikki is still here. But maybe this can just be a short stream and that wouldn't really kill me, right? But I guess that depends on if there are people around and depending on what is submitted and my mood. You're submitting your very first poem. If I'm interested, do you mean the very first poem you've like ever written, or like your very first poem as a submission? If it's your very first poem you've ever written, that would be, oh my gosh, that's so special. I am I am honored, and I what courage, what courage to share the first thing you've ever written in the genre. I inspired you. That's inspiring to me. Um, I love my first poem. I I I like I know my first poem, and it's really interesting. I think about often, you know, that when I started writing poetry, I did so with this immense freedom. Everything was new and everything was exciting, and I didn't know about the definition of assonance, and I didn't know about structures and concrete poetry, and I didn't know about poetic history and periods and the Harlem Renaissance and the evolution of like slam and beat poetry and all these things, and I could just write, you know. Um, and I mean, oftentimes when I write poetry, I still just write, and it's pouring out of emotion. Uh, but at the beginning, it was so unbridled and so pure and so innocent, and that's a really special time in anything, any pursuit as people, right? When we first do something, it's like virgin, or perhaps the loss of the virginity, um, is one way to put it. But yeah, absolutely submit the poem, and depending on how long it is, maybe talk about it. I would like that, to read some poetry today, and then we'll take a Kutara break for a while because read other people's things. But luckily, there's like basically no one here in chat today, so uh, if you're here and have stuff, you can just kind of have me read it. I wonder if there are satire poems out there. There are absolutely satire and comedic poems out there. Honestly, I would encourage you to just look up uh, satirical poetry, and maybe I can look it up and I can see if there are any names I recognize to point you in any trusted directions. Satirical poetry. Uh, let's see, because you look up satirical poetry and it gives you like John Donne, and he was from like the 1500s, and maybe if there's like some more modern poetic satire, like, I don't know. I'm not that interested in recommending the average Twitch user like uh 18th century poetry. Modern satirical poets. Let's try this. You probably wouldn't find it in slam. Slam poets are really genuine. Um, lists of satirists and satires. Because like satire goes back to the beginning of time, right? Um, if you go on the Wikipedia page for the list of satirists, early satirical authors, Aesop, Aesop's Fable, like one of the earliest um, uh, works we have in the Western canon is satirical. Diogenes, right? Uh, Ovid, he's a poet. He wrote satires, but like that's not super amazing. Uh, I have to be careful because there's a lot of cynical poems, and cynicism is not satire. Uh, a lot of these are going to be comedians on this page. Um, I want some satiric poets, which maybe you would get some from this sort of Frank Zappa is listed on here. See, it's not a very useful Wikipedia page, right? So satire is broad and massive. But I guess if you're fine with like old stuff, you can just look up, satirical poems and it will tell you to read John Donne's satires or whatever in the first link. Which is fine. Not not finding too much immediately online that I recognize. I don't read a lot of satirical poetry, I guess, is the thing. Let me look at my shelf. Yeah. I'm definitely an earnest type. For better or for worse. I need to watch The Simpsons, but the show's writing process got me interested. Even one of the Simpsons writers, John Swartzwelder, basically held as one of the greatest comedy writers ever. Yeah, MF Doom, you say, the mighty DD. Yeah, I mean, we find poetry in so many places. Like, I mean, music is poetic. And I think probably the reality, Ray Vega, is if you consume a broad scope of satirical media, movies, comedians, music, poetry, that you'll be more adept at using satire in any artistic form that you personally approach, right? So if you just become really well read in satire, The Simpsons, you say, if you go watch lots of comedy specials or comedians in person. I've never been to a comedy show. I've seen comedians on open mics, but never a comedy show. That's really interesting. But if you just become versed in satire, then when you go to write satirical verse, you'll probably have a less worse time, and that will probably serve you well. That's wow. That's like long for a first poem. That's badass. That's super cool. That's exciting. Anyway, so we will look at the poem you just sent, Kutara. But we will do so after a brief break. Because those of us on Twitch are condemned to ad breaks. So I'll run the ad. And those who don't have to watch the ad can listen to the nice music, or, and I will hydrate, yeah. Or you can stand up, which I would encourage. I would encourage you to get a drink of water, walk around, step away from the screen, do some squats or push-ups, you know? Do one good thing for your body, and your body will like you for it. Yeah, I'll be back in a sec. What's up? It's me. Still me. Same old. Same old. And, we're back. Welcome back is one thing that one might say in a setting like that. We're going to read another poem, or a poem. I guess we've read prose for the whole stream. And that will be the last thing we read today, almost certainly. Because I'd like to not stream for 5 hours today. As much as I love streaming, it can be a lot sometimes to do a lot. And yeah. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this poem so that I can put it in the thing and I can scribble on it. I feel like that's definitely something I miss when I'm reading the prose, is I don't get to scribble all over the work, just by nature of how I go about using the writing apps. I'm sure I could like import people's PDFs into something to be able to write on it, but that seems like a lot of work and not always entirely maybe worth the effort. Who knows? Here is Gutara's first poem, and we'll come in more. Got the glare going. That happens at about 3:30. Hey, don't roast me too much. I'm not gonna roast you. Have you, Katara? In all the poems I've read on stream with you here, you may have noticed that very little roasting ever happens. You may have noticed that roasting is not necessarily my style. So I only roast really if people really ask me to, and even then, just kidding. Yes. No, I'm so excited. I am so happy for you to have written a poem, to have tried to express in a new way. How was it? How was writing your first poem? I guess before I jump into reading it, I am very curious about what you thought about this brand new experience. It was like I felt so free writing it. Incorrect. Lotus was so mean to me. Only because you asked. Felt so free writing it. That's very exciting. Was the freedom scary at all? Was it uncomfortable coming from the more restrictive nature of prose? I imagine it was also very exciting and liberating in that freedom. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like there's been a language for me, but I only discovered it now. Yeah, and now you get to keep exploring and speaking that language for as long as you keep writing poetry. Awesome. That's very good to hear. And maybe that means there will be more Kutara poems in the future. Whether or not you send them is your choice. That's very exciting. Now, knowing that you're new to poetry, maybe you won't have that many questions. Maybe you'll have a lot of questions. But as we go into this work, is there anything that you're curious about? Any questions you have? Any things you would like me to focus on? Pay attention to? Ideas you would maybe appreciate if I discussed in detail? All of that would be, welcome, encouraged, but not necessary either. And as you, I don't know, just enjoy, I guess? Absolutely, I will. Here is 7 by Kutara, or Rhodius in the Discord world. 7. Hit, run, stop, and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit? Take again now? Here. 7. Count and count again always. Tell me how many fed with days. The stone, examining shapes of others nearby, forgets the splashing water it bounced from. The mountain goat with blood-red eyes does not notice sharpness of its horns. What if one day I go high, ascend to sky, murder your loved god? What will you do, 7? What have you got? a heaven to deserve, or even a hell to fear. You have none now. What will you do? 7. What have you done? The sword, looking at brightness of others, forgets the hammer by which it's forged. The surrounded filthy murderer trapped inside here does not think about surroundings of surroundings. What if one day I go deep, underground, drive your hated hatred completely mad? What will you do? 7. What have you got? A family to defend, or even a home to miss? You have none now. What will you do? 7. What have you done? Hit, run, stop, and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Does the edge hit, run again now? Here is 7, count and restart always. Tell 7 how many, fed with days. Be quiet, 7, and count. Be quiet, and count. 7. So you have a number of 7 things hidden in this poem, which is quite an ambitious thing to do. You have 7 words in these lines, right? Hit, run, stop, and hit, run. That's 7 lines, 7 words in the line. You sort of have some of these things grouped in like 7s. This is 7 lines here. This is a group of 7, right? This is a group of 7. This one's 5, but you know, that's okay. Maybe there's a group of 7 sort of in here as well. But OMG, you have an I? Well, the poem practically told me. It said, here is 7, count and restart always. I didn't actually notice until we got toward the end. And I saw the hit, run, stop, and hit, run again. And I'm like, oh, that's... You know, I was thinking about structures, I guess. I read a lot of poetry, Katara. But that's very cool, and it's probably in other places hidden where I haven't noticed yet. But yeah, that's cool. Hit, run, stop, and hit, run. So then there's all this like meaning stuff happening as well. And I think, you know, the way that you write this is very exciting, and it's entirely unsurprising to me that you have this really snappy, scattered kind of voice, which is really cool, right? And coming from your prose, where you kind of bend the rules of prose by having these really clipped sentences and these really, you know, snappy kind of things. I guess it doesn't surprise me, right, that this is sort of a way that you might go about writing poetry. And it has so much pace to it, right? I mean, you might have noticed while I was reading, you know, just the way I was moving through the poem, it's very fun, right? It has a lot of sound stuff going on. And I mean, you've been around, Kutara, listening to maybe some of my analyses of poems, and I talk often about sound. And you know, whether or not you're doing it intentionally, I think there are a number of places where you've sort of have a good sense for sound and the things it can do, right? I'm sure you're familiar with alliteration, right? Because this is just a pretty common word, right? But this is to use the same consonant sound in proximity, particularly at the start of words, but generally just in proximity is how I like to use it. And right, we have this, scatter and satisfy. Even take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Um, and this sort of repetition of things, hit, 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 which is, arguably alliteration, maybe more so just a repetition of word, which naturally creates that. But you're also rhyming, right? Hit and give, you have this like slant rhyme. You have this like stop, strip, which is a slant in its own way. Um, you have like these sounds, again, an edge. Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run, take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit, take again now? Uh, and this feels borderline nonsensical, right? The actual content of this. Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run, right? Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, satisfy. Is the edge hit, take again now, right? It's almost on a surface level, right? This sort of like gibberish thing. But the beauty is we can take things that are really difficult to parse in terms of meaning, and we can place them within cool sound. And sound can kind of act as like a mask, right? That, makes us enjoy the work even if we don't like understand it on a first read or a second read or a third read or a fifth read or a 10th read, right? uh and that's a very cool thing. Now there is probably meanings in here in the hits and the runs and the stop. um I'm not sure of them yet. That's how it tends to be. And I'm actually going to read the whole poem again. I sort of jumped into things very quickly because it's exciting. But I think it's very good practice as a poetic reader to read the work multiple times. Read it as many times as you can, really. It's not about reading it, twice or three times. Just the continued revisiting to the full text can be really useful. 7. Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit, take again now? Here, 7. Count and count again, always. Tell 7. How many, fed with days. So, I'll keep reading. So, the stone examining shapes of others nearby forgets the splashing water it bounced from. The mountain goat with blood-red eyes does not notice sharpness of its horns. What if one day I go high, ascend to sky, murder your loved God? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A heaven to deserve, or even a hell to fear? You have none now. What will you do, 7? What have you done? The sword, looking at brightness of others, forgets the hammer by which it's forged. The surrounded, filthy murderer trapped inside here does not think about surroundings of surroundings. What if one day I go deep? Underground, drive your hated hatred completely mad? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A family to defend, or even a home to miss? You have none now. What will you do, 7? What have you done? Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run, take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Does the edge hit, run again now? Here is 7. Count and restart always. Tell, 7, how many, fed with days. Be quiet, 7. Count. Be quiet. And count. Seven. Hi, Ray. This poem's so free. This poem feels free, Katara. Yeah. Um. So you have like more seven things. I think not every line is seven, which is interesting, and I think that tells us something about maybe the story happening here, because we address seven as a character, right? But the stone examining shapes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think all of these are 7 words to a line, and then if one day I go hot, yeah. So this is all 7 words to a line. But then we get the sentence guy, murder your, yeah. What will you do, 7? What have you got? And we have this refrain that happens. What will you do, 7? What have you done? What will you do, 7? What have you got? What will you do, 7? What have you done? And these are 8, right? These are 4 plus 4. What will you do? Oh, are they 5 plus 4? What will you do, 7? What have you got? Yeah, so they're actually 9, because I can count. 9, 5, what will you do, 7? What have you got, 4? 5 plus 4. So that's really fascinating. And then at the end, be quiet, 7, count. Be quiet and count. So we have again this like 5 plus 4 kind of situation. And it really makes it feel like there's sort of 2 voices, right? Almost suggested that you have 7 and you have this thing outside of 7. Here 7, count and count. I can always tell 7 how many fed with, like, this like tell 7 line thing. It feels almost like riddle like, almost question to the reader sitch. But I'm not sure. There are some things like 7 is a interesting symbol, right? 7 has many associations in culture and media, right? 7 is like lucky, and it's like gambling, and it's like Vegas, and I live here, so that comes to mind. Slot machines. But then 7 is also like sins, and we have this kill your god situation. Murder your loved god, mountain goat with red eyes and horns. We have the murderer. We have hell. Which makes me think this poem is broadly a discussion of sin, right? And maybe this makes sense, right? There's like hit as like something violent, running as sort of like cowardly, though I don't think that's one of like the traditional 7 sins. Stopping like sloth, selling like greed, stripping like lust, satisfying like gluttony, right? There could be, that pointing to that. And I mean, with like a mountain goat with blood red eyes, right? This is our sort of like what Baphomet kind of figure or whatever, I think is the correct demon name for this situation. But you also like have, I mean, sword looking at the brightness of others forgets the hammer by which it's forged. The surrounded filthy murderer, there's like the man forgetting about God, basically, is sort of maybe a way I would read this within the sinful context. Is kind of what I'm leaning toward as I read this work. Yeah, that's Baphomet. Thank you, Ray. Yeah. How are you doing, Ray? So, how many fed with days is interesting. Days, right? 7 also, of course, points to like 7 days in a week, and to use days here is interesting. Um, I'm unsure uh, whether it ties in beyond that. Maybe just the notion of something happening 7 days a week means it's always happening. The sort of constancy of this situation. But I like the vagueness of this poem. I mean, it's not vague. It actually has a lot of specific imagery and symbols. Uh, but I like that it's obtuse. That it feels off kilter and staggering is how I'd put it. Not staggering in like where you'd call something staggering as like overwhelmingly beautiful, but like the poem itself is staggering along. um, and I think that maybe sort of fits with this notion of sin, um, and it has this allure to it. Uh, I know this is your first poem, but is this a sequel to six? If the first one is six, and then next one is seven. Six, seven. 6, 7, 6, 7. Okay, enough. 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 Okay. Uh, the stone examining shapes of others nearby. You have this like idea that comes back, right? The sword looking at the brightness of others. The stone examining the shapes of others nearby. And that's really interesting because I think this is like really intrinsic, right, to this idea of maybe sin. Is this like external, this other, this like man and outside of man kind of concept? And maybe there's also like some envy in that if we're looking to our traditional seven sins. um but it's a cool recurrent theme. The stone examining shapes of others nearby forgets the splashing water it bounced from. These individual lines, this feels almost almost like haiku or proverb like, in the same way the sword looking at the brightness of others forgets the hammer by which it's forged. But I think both of these, right, they involve this notion of like when one is always looking externally, one forgets like self, one forgets origin, one forgets this sort of like stability. You did not clip me. You did not clip me doing 6, 7. God. I mean, I like when you guys clip my channel, but of all the things, Wombat. um, um, so the mountain goat with blood red eyes does not notice sharpness of its horns. Does not notice sharpness of its horns. So, like, there's this I. A fascinating thing is, like, there's I here. I go high, ascend to sky, murder your loved God. What will you do, 7? What have you got? And so, like, there is someone loving God, and it's hard to tell if the perspective is shifting, because we have, like, this line is an 8. So if it's I go high, and then, like, you is someone else talking to I, or whether this is the same. But if I go high and murder your loved God, and you are 7, then it's 7's loved God, and I am something else. Maybe it is meant that 7, the character, is man. This is just some speculation. So man loves God, but man is beholden to 7 and the sins. That's why we call him 7. And then I is this sort of like Satan tempting figure, right? What will you do, 7? What have you got? Right? Man has a heaven to deserve, a hell to fear. You have none now, which is interesting. Well, maybe that's the killing of the god. Maybe there's some notion of like intellect and atheism here in that line. Very interpretive work. The surrounded filthy murderer trapped. The surrounded filthy murderer trapped inside here does not think about surroundings of surroundings. This is this is one of my favorite parts of the poem. Does not think about surroundings of surroundings. That just feels like such a clever and intuitive kind of line to come to. It was very impressive. Also doing like the surrounded surroundings thing is such a lovely technique. I believe the actual like literary name of this is polyptoton or something. Not that you need to know that. But this is often very effective. Using the same word in different tenses, surrounded and surrounding, is pretty cool here. What if one day I go deep underground, drive your hatred completely mad? I feel like I didn't notice that hatred was there twice until just now. Underground, drive your hatred. That's fascinating. That's the pattern seeking mind, the pattern predicting mind. What if one day I go deep underground, drive your hatred completely mad? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A family to defend or even a home to miss? You have none now. So there's this idea, this continual questioning, right? Like if we take things away, what do you have left? When you have nothing, when you don't have God, when you don't have hell, when you don't have these things, right? And maybe there's just this idea of death. Hit, run, stop, and hit, run, give, sell, strip, scatter, satisfy. Does the edge hit? Run again now. I mean, I think this feels like it's about hated hatred. Oh, drive your... Okay, yeah, I'm just getting to the point where I can't read words. Drive your hated hatred completely mad. Okay. I wonder if this is about, like, the dissatisfaction of man, of being alive, of just, like, the human condition. Hit, run, stop, and hit, run, take, give, sell, strip, scatter, satisfy, right? Like all these things we do, take or give or sell, right? Like money, strip, like sex, scatter, wandering, being a hermit, hitting, running, stopping, whatever, to like attempt to satisfy oneself. And there's this notion, right, of the constantly dissatisfied person, the sword looking at the brightness of others, the stone examining shapes of others, right? This idea is very important, I think, right? This external dissatisfaction. And then it's like, well, what if we start taking away external things? What if we start taking away everything? What do you have then? Why do you continue to live? Interesting conclusion, right? Be quiet, 7, count. Be quiet and count. And there's this notion of like counting one's days, almost as if all we do as humans is just count and just count the time as it passes on in our lives until we die, right? And all things will be lost and like relinquished, and we try to fill that void with all these things. Here is 7. Count and restart always. Till 7, how many? Fed with days. Yeah, I mean, there's like time and dissatisfaction really seem like the time, dissatisfaction, God, death, right? These are maybe like the big themes that come to me out of the madness. Feels similar to AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, from what little I'm hearing in the background. I have not consumed that piece of media in either of its forms. I think it was a book and a movie. But man, what an enigmatic first work. How free. Um, I'm gonna read it again. 7. Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit? Take again. Now, this, I'm not gonna read it. This line fascinates me. This like really cryptic question. Is the edge hit? Take again now. Oh, is the edge hit? Well, like the idea of like hitting the edge, reaching the end, but then like is the edge hit? As if to say, is this part the end? Almost like it's pointing back to the title or something. Take again now. Right. I mean, maybe there's this cycle, right? Hitting and running and stopping and hitting and running and taking and then these things and hitting and taking. Maybe that just implies a cyclicality of being or something. Here's 7. 7 is it's so cool. 7 is a character. What a clever thing to do. Here, 7. Count and count again always. Tell 7 how many. Fed with day. Tell 7 how many. Like this is tell 7. It's like tell me 7, right? It's like imploring for this thing. How many. Fed with day. What a weird, such cool grammar. I never knew there were poetry streams on Twitch. I'm the only one, I think. As far as I can tell, I'm still the only one. But welcome. I'm glad you found your way to the poetry stream of Twitch. My name is Imogen. I read people's poetry. They send them to me on our Discord server. I scribble all over it and talk about it and analyze it. I also read prose and essays and other things. But yeah, right now we are reading poetry. If you'd like the Discord, yeah, I don't have it as exclamation Discord because I've gotten hate raids before for my identity. So it is Isle, as it is the island of the Lotus Eaters. But you're welcome to join. Yeah. I take it that means you're a poet. How long have you been writing for? Okay. This cryptic, these questions, is troubling. I think I was trying to read it again from the start and got lost in the questions. But we're going to try to zoom out and read the whole thing again. 7. Hit, run, stop and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit? Take again now? Here, 7. Count and count again always. Tell, 7, how many? Fed with days. The stone examining shapes of others nearby forgets the splashing water it bounced from. I love the S alliteration here. The mountain goat, with blood-red eyes, does not notice sharpness of its horns. Oh, you're like S alliterating through the whole poem because it's 7. That makes sense. What if one day I go high, ascend to sky, murder your loved God? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A heaven to deserve or even a hell to fear? You have none now. What will you do, 7? What have you done? The sword, looking at brightness of others, forgets the hammer by which it's forged. The surrounded, filthy murderer trapped inside here does not think about surroundings of surroundings. What if one day I go deep? Underground, drive your hated hatred completely mad. What will you do, Seven? What have you got? A family to defend, or even a home to miss? You have none now. What will you do, Seven? What have you done? Hit, hit, run, stop and hit, run, take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Does the edge hit? Run again? There's a change. I didn't notice this until now. You have is the edge hit? Take again now in the opening stanza. But it changes down here. Does the edge hit? Which almost points to like the edge of a sword, right? We talked about the sword earlier. A sword is something with an edge hitting with a sword, right? Run again now. Here is 7. Count and restart always. Tell 7 how many, fed with days. Be quiet, 7. Count. Be quiet and count. Oh god, no, a passing interest only, and only since the start of the year. Oh, that's totally okay. That's, you know, everyone's this community is people who've like written for a long time and not a long time, and there are people in my chat who've been writing poetry for longer than I've been alive. I've only been writing for about 3 years myself. One must love S's alliterations. My friends don't like them. I love S alliterations. They're very fun. They're very easy, which I think is probably like there are so many words that you can alliterate with S that they come very naturally, and so maybe some people are think they're like above that, but they sound so good. Sounds so smooth and satisfying. The sonorous, seductive quality of hissing something sounds. It helps me live my fantasy of pretending to be a small snake. That's a fantasy I didn't know one could have, but man, it would be nice to be a small snake. Small snake. Alliteration. Small snake slithering silently southward. Anyway, man, I love how we have like the sharpness of the horns, and then we get like the sword later. You do these cool rhymes too. Like there's like the heaven with 7, and then there's like the defend, which is sort of with 7. So like this, they structurally match. You have this like, God, like ascend is like such a cool use here. Blood red eyes, I go high. Like, come on. I don't know. It's kind of crazy that this is your first poem. This is like really badass. It's really cool. I don't think I'm putting all the pieces together in terms of like the meaning. I also think that's okay, right? To me, it's almost like this twisted whispering voice in the ear in this poem. I'm not catching everything it's saying. It's like the thoughts that exist in the crevices of my mind that crop up every so often. I can't always hear, right? It's this notion of like a shadowy temptation of dissatisfaction, something lingering, always there, lurking, semi-darkness. That's how this poem feels to me. And it's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah. I don't want to offer you any advice, Um, oh, by the way, if you didn't notice, but the section starts with a heaven to has also 14 words, 7 for heaven and 7 for hell. A heaven to deserve or even, a hell to fear and have none now. You would do that. That's cool. That's another fun hidden little 7, right? 7 in each of those. Uh that's clever. You're definitely a structure type person. Obviously, your mind works in a way where you, Rick Lucy, you say no shot. um, so you're very structurally minded, right? Um, and so the tricky thing about being new to poetry is everything you start to read is gonna like restrict you, and everything you've written is gonna start restricting you. And art is sort of this process of clutching to the freedom and like clutching to the intuitive fun writing, because you had fun writing this. I think you said that, and if you didn't, I feel like you had fun writing this poem. It exudes that energy in it. Um which really makes my one advice to just like, I mean, it's fascinating to me to how you have no idea how fun it was. Yeah. Know that you're never going to be able to replicate this poem. If you try to replicate and do the same thing, it's not going to be fun. Art is funny in this way where you kind of always have to keep going forward. Um, the you must keep counting. You must keep going on toward the future, and learning new things. Um, and the fun and the excitement and the interest and the curiosity uh, is really valuable. But if you try to hold on to it, it's going to slip out of your fingers too. I think what I personally would probably do is maybe I would recommend some poetry for you that you might like based on your writing, if you're interested in recommendations. Because I think that there are a number of things that you maybe gravitate to. Of course. Okay. Um. So. What was the funnest part about this, Kutara? Was it this? Was it the numbers and the sevens and the structure? Was it the sounds? Uh, maybe you spoke this to yourself. Did you enjoy speaking this poem? Did you speak it as you write it? Because it has a very, sound like quality. Um, that's something I would ask. What was your favorite part of the experience of this poem for you? Your first poem. Because then I can point you maybe toward other things that occupy that space. I'm gonna put my face for just a second. I just want to check on something. Okay, cool. 7 words play. Okay, so you enjoyed that, the structure then, but it was really freeing writing at every aspect of it. Okay. I think. Let me look at Sonia. You might like Sonia. So, Sonia Sanchez is a really cool poet, and for her time was really experimental in form on the page, and also has this spoken quality because she's really one of like the mothers of slam poetry. And you might look into slam poetry. Slam poetry is interesting because it's often much more forward. Slam poetry is almost never cryptic in the way that this is. But you might find some appreciation in the slam poets. But Sonia does really cool things with spacing and with colloquialisms, right? Um, you know, I'm gonna. Hopefully the N word isn't in here because I can't say that, but I'll read the poem. Who's gonna make all that beautiful black rhetoric mean something? Like, I mean, who's gonna take the words "black is beautiful" and make more of it than black capitalism? You dig? I mean, who's gonna take all the young, long-haired natural brothers and sisters and let them grow till all that is imped is themselves? A moving in straight revolutionary lines toward the enemy, and we know who that is. Like, man, who's gonna give our young black people new heroes? Instead of catchphrases, instead of Cadillacs, instead of pimps. Sonia's really cool. If you like that, that's black rhetoric. There's some more on the next page. Here, there's more. Instead of white whores, instead of drugs, instead of new dances, instead of chitterlings, instead of 35-cent bottle of Ripple, instead of quick fucks in the hall, way of white America's mind, like this is an SOS. Me calling someone. Please reply soon. She's got a lot of energy. She did a lot of experimenting. Obviously, a lot of her writing is about the, a black American experience. She's really cool. Slam poetry continues off in that direction. But, I mean, a poet who I really like, I mean, it's a collection that I really enjoy, and sometimes I show it on stream, is this collection called Borderland Apocrypha by Anthony Cody. 'Cause, like, man, even the table of contents is interestingly laid out on the page. But this whole book is a structural masterpiece. I actually have to zoom out further and move the iPad. This is concrete poetry. Concrete poetry uses the layout on the page and the structures visually to tell some of the story. And you can't see it very well because I'm so zoomed out, but each of the ends of these kind of sections has a footnote, and that footnote leads to the next page. So basically the entirety of this book is like a giant branching structure. That's really cool. This is concrete poetry. You might enjoy that. Just as a genre of poetry, if you're interested in like looking at the ways people experiment with presentation on the page, because I think something you'll enjoy. You seem like someone who likes experimentation and freedom, and I guess I want to push you toward poets that are currently breaking like the mold of what is sort of acceptable. Because at least on a cursory look, you seem like interested in the freedom of the artistic expression. One of my favorite poems ever is actually, I'm going to share my screen to show this poem. Hopefully looking it up doesn't crash my computer. I think we're good. It is called Afrofuturism, or Blanche Says Meh. It turns out that a lot of the great experimentation is done by African American artists in America. Share my screen. This piece is really cool. Douglas Kearney. So Douglas Kearney is like the GOAT. And this has audio. I'm going to move it to the side so I can see and make sure it's maybe sharing my computer audio. Y'all can't see that I've OBS going on over here. Let's see. Play this.
Won't you let me take you on a cruise?
Take
Rockets!
Take me to.
So far ahead, it's behind us.
Take me to.
Moses told her ray gun, saying, moonwalk or get disintegrated.
Take me to.
Pharaohs go far away, oh no.
Eject. Riding place down there. Drones flown up like they just don't care.
What our antenna said we was bugged. So us eyed the light up to light out. Whole of the place blacked up, so blacks out this terror. Oh, great getting up, launching. Space-suited queens in foil to fly. Flight-suited kings, sky around shining. Rockets! Zip, 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 off the planetation.
Take me to.
Beyond the stairs to nigga heaven. Yeah.
It's an escape craft from now and then, by way of then and soon.
Moonshots.
It's the where and the when we go. When the call gets no response.
Take me to.
Do you read?
Take me to.
Over.
Rockets.
NASA been good to us.
Are we
yet? Are we there? Are there we there yet? Are we here yet there? There.
That's one of my favorite poems, probably like ever. Very experimental, right? And maybe that goes too far in that direction for you. I feel too dumb to understand. Yeah, I mean, so that's coming from a lineage of like being influenced by, I mean, Afrofuturism is the title of the poem. But an influence of spoken word and slam and jazz music even. And that gets out there. But the point, Kutara, is that art can always be more free, right? Art can always do something unexpected and exciting and be something. Find an immense amount of stream crashed. Rip. Okay, we're back. We're back now. Okay, I think we're back. We're so back. We are so back. Wobble Dobbsy. You can always experiment in art. You can always keep innovating. You can always keep, like sort of exploring new things. And even with a poem like this, this one is very sort of fast and dynamic and cryptic, right? And it might actually even be beneficial to like explore very far in a different direction. Something extremely brief, a tanka or a haiku, these extremely short, concrete, image-based poems. But there's so many ways to write poetry, right? And I guess even if you don't read, you don't have to read poetry. I'm just suggesting it because you might be inspired. But even if you don't go read poetry, if writing poetry doesn't feel free, that's not because of poetry. That's because like you're not in a mindset conducive to that. Writing poetry doesn't have to feel free for everyone, but it always can. So, I mean, I guess that's my thought. And so I'm obviously a big fan of reading poetry. Otherwise I wouldn't do it live on the internet. 3 times a week with multiple poems each time, and then go do it on my own time as well. But reading can really like teach you so much. And I mean, you'd also certainly analyze poems. I don't know if anyone if anyone watching my streams has ever gone and like chosen to analyze a poem for fun. But it's a very beneficial way to learn. And you just notice. You notice the things that are happening. You notice what's on the page and the connections and the things that sound good and the things that don't, the things you like, and then you say, what are they doing? And then you go do it yourself, right? Yeah, you can learn everything just by reading and writing, which is pretty cool. Something Kurt Vonnegut said. Yeah, you're welcome a lot. Thank you for sending it. I know I had praise for it. That's something I said I like this poem, and I like pretty much everything I read, because I look for the things that I like. But take the praise. I think you wrote something. It's I enjoy it. It's awesome. And then leave that behind and go write something else. Don't get stuck on this poem. Keep writing new stuff. I'm a big anti-editing kind of person. I don't think people really have much it's very justified to be editing your poems within the first few years of writing. I think that time is better spent reading more and writing more. But yeah, I also don't know, you might just write poetry for fun. And if that's the case, just have fun. I don't want to push you also. I'm oh, go read these things. This is exciting. That's because I'm a poet, right? And I want other people maybe to do that too if they like that. You can also just keep writing poems every so often for fun. And that's valid too. Possibly more valid than studying it. There were some things said earlier. Recluse yet some advice. As someone that is super into structure and rhyme and alliteration, don't get too lost in that, because sometimes that can water down what a poem can be. True. It's a major issue I have. I forgot a lot because I'm hellbent on structure, rhyme, etc. that will force what I want to express into said structure. That's a good advice. Yeah. Everything that can enable us to create new stuff and be creative also serves the purpose of potentially putting us into a box, which is sort of the paradox of art. Yeah. Yernan died. What do you miss? Not that much. Just me talking. I'm going to read this poem one more time. If no other questions, I think you don't have any, but that could be wrong. No reason to assume. Or if anyone else has questions, not just Kutara, pertaining to this poem. Otherwise, I'll read it again. And that will be the end of this poem. And yeah. I have some poems that I've worked on for years. I dislike them heavily now. But as my last message suggests, I have this habit. I read some shit I did 5 years ago, and it's a lot more free and fun. Yeah. You use GoodNotes? Do I use GoodNotes? I use OneNote. Again. Yes. 7. Hit. Run. Stop and hit. Run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Is the edge hit? Take again now? Here. 7. Count and count again always. Tell 7 how many fed with days. The stone examining shapes of others nearby forgets the splashing water it bounced from. The mountain goat with blood-red eyes does not notice sharpness of its horns. What if one day I go high, ascend a sky, murder your loved god? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A heaven to deserve, or even a hell to fear. You have none now. What will you do, 7? What have you done? The sword, looking at brightness of others, forgets the hammer by which it's forged. The surrounded filthy murderer trapped inside here does not think about surroundings of surroundings. What if one day I go deep, underground, drive your hated hatred completely mad? What will you do, 7? What have you got? A family to defend, or even a home to miss. You have none now. What will you do, 7? What have you done? Hit, hit, run, stop, and hit, run. Take, give, sell, strip, scatter, and satisfy. Does the edge hit? Run again now. Here is 7. Count and restart always. Tell 7 how many fed with days. Be quiet, 7. Count. Be quiet. And count. Yeah. In the nicest way possible, there's no universe. This is someone's first poem. That does not take away from the poem itself. It could have been your 20th. I'd still say it's a really cool poem. Awesome stuff. Sad I missed the analysis part. That's part of the stream I enjoy the most. And the one part of stream where I feel like I add a bit at times. Anyways, hope you all are happy and healthy. Yeah, you as well, Reclusi. And yeah, it does a lot of cool things for a first poem, but no matter where we start, right? Skill as an artist, it's about how we go forward and how we create our art over an extended period of time, right? Not much use if we create a few beautiful things and then stop, right? But I mean, I understand it, like looking at Kutara's prose, sort of how it goes from one to the next. Yeah, we all start somewhere different. And there is this notion of like people having talent, but talent evens out over time. And many who seem to have it sort of don't last very long, and sometimes it's those who start with less talent, less of a knack for something, that end up sticking with it because they learn to work hard. So, it's far too advanced, but I guess arguing this doesn't really add to anything. It's an awesome poem. That's what matters. I mean, it plays on a couple things. Hello, Messier. Right? I mean, the poem. I mean, Katara's been hanging out, right? Watching streams where we analyze poetry. Naturally, one's gonna start to become familiar with ideas of assonance, rhyme, rhythm, right? These kinds of things. How was your stream, Messier? What were you up to? What were you streaming? Also writing. I didn't know you streamed, I guess, is the thing. Maybe I should follow you back. Oh, I am following you. Oh, right. You're this channel. Yes, so I am following you. That's good. That's good. Guys, go follow Messier. They also stream writing. Do that. I command you. I command you. We'll like, how do I shout people out? That's what I'm supposed to do, right? I mean, it's not supposed to. I want to shout you out because you're a writing channel. I'm obviously not obligated to do something like that. Bam. Follow the channel. There's a small community of people doing this on Twitch, so we gotta stick together. It's very easy to insert a PDF into OneNote. You just select a PDF from your files. Good to know, Lavendism. I should try to do that. I was in a stream the other day, and the streamer mentioned you and how awesome you are. Cool. Thanks. I don't know. Praise kind of like bounces off of me. You know, I'm in the way that I suggested, right? That Kutara take the praise and then go forward from there. I also dislike I dislike dwelling on praise, but I suppose I like taking praise and accepting it and thinking is different. I guess maybe it's the social situation of another person giving me praise recounted through another. I've infiltrated your philosophy streams. Good. That's really funny. I guess I talk about a lot of philosophy stuff, and I'm open to the discussion, so it's unsurprising, right? We just got a raid, but we're gonna just like chain that raid off somewhere else, cause I am gonna go soon. We're definitely computer's bugging because it's really hot in my room. But I think we're back to stable, hopefully. What I was saying is we're pretty much raiding out soon, though. It's funny to me that writers on Twitch tell me to follow Imogen when I've been following since December of 2024. Yeah, Maytari, you're a real OG. That's where you say, actually, I'm in Imogen's anthology, The Poets of Twitch. Only the real OGs know. That's where you hit them with that line. I have 15 essays to mark tomorrow, and I have to get them done. I'm kind of fucked. Don't know how I'll survive. All the best, gamers. All the best to you. I hope you survive. And I hope all of you survive. But if you have the time to survive on Twitch a little longer, I would much appreciate it if you join us for a raid. A raid over to The Terrible Novelist, because I like his vibe. Actually, is there anyone else in the writing category? You're late, Brian. We're just ending. We are just ending. And like stream is bugging. Or my computer